Number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, January 28th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now, feeling colder in the wind. It is minus 19 in Ottawa. In Smiths Falls, it's minus 18. And here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Hundreds are set to converge on Ottawa today, driving everything from transport trucks to pickups. Chris Curries is tracking their movement, joining us now with the latest.
They seem to be coming from three different spots, from the east and west, an unknown number of trucks, that is. Likely that group to stop in Arnprior. Antrim truck stop located on that route. Owner Tom Orr on why they will stay open.
You know, those are our diehards. They're the guys that get up in the morning and buy a breakfast or something and buy fuel here, you know, so we're going to have to keep some room in our parking lot.
He notes that safety is the priority. These groups expected to link up with the group coming from Kingston. Police in the area confirming about 300 trucks set to head down the 401 around 8:30. Now, police in the area are warning of disruptions to the downtown core and advising that commuting on the 416 and 417 is not ideal at this point, and to be prepared for any alternate arrangements that need to be made. The City of Ottawa has closed vaccine clinics at U Ottawa for today through Sunday, and the Lower Town Neighbourhood Vaccine Hub today only. Appointments can be rebooked, and while the message to businesses has been clear from Ottawa Police, they are expecting a peaceful protest. Some have decided to close their doors proactively, just in case. Chris Curries, City News.
Now, as trucks start arriving in our downtown, City News Ottawa will have extended coverage through the day today and also of this Freedom Rally tomorrow morning starting at 11 o'clock. Rob Snow will host this show with reporters on the scene downtown, bringing you the latest information you need to know. The rally is slated to officially get underway around the noon hour. Now, stay with City News for extensive coverage of this protest through the day today and tomorrow morning, once again starting at 11 o'clock with Rob Snow. City News time 9:02, and now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Extreme cold returns, and it will get even colder as we work through the day. Risk of frostbite by tonight. Already reached our high for the day. That came early this morning for the afternoon, about minus 15. Most areas, lots of sunshine. Minus 28 for the low. Will feel like minus 37 with the wind. For the weekend, plenty of sunshine. Highs minus 11 to about minus 13. For today, I already reached the high for the day. For the afternoon, minus 15.
And right now it's minus 19 degrees in Ottawa. Feels like minus 29, minus 18 in Smiths Falls. It feels like minus 26. City News time at 9:03. Now, Ontario is facing calls to reverse a pandemic policy allowing hospital workers to return to work while infected with COVID-19. That's if a facility staffing situation becomes dire. Several unions are making the request, including Canadian Union of Public Employees. They're calling the policy, quote, a dangerous threat to both patients and staff. As the American president is set to address infrastructure in Pittsburgh today, there's been a bridge collapse in that city. Police reported that span came down about 6 this morning. A photo from the scene shows a commuter bus upright in a section of the collapsed bridge. Pittsburgh Public Safety says there's no initial report of any injuries. The agency does report natural gas line was cut, so there is a smell of gas in the air. Authorities telling motorists around that Pittsburgh bridge to avoid the area. Winter storm warnings are in effect from North Carolina all the way into the Maritimes and through to Newfoundland. A major winter storm expected to begin moving up the coast today. Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick could see up to 40 centimeters of snow, winds gusting to 100. That could cause power outages. Then the storm moves on to Newfoundland. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Inform your opinion.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Friday. We made it. Yeah, we made it. Made it to what? I have no idea. No idea what this weekend is going to bring. It will bring one more work day for me. Yeah, I'm not missing this. I'm working tomorrow. I'll gladly work tomorrow. I'll be right here on City News, right here. I have no idea when I'll get home or if I'll even be able to get home, but I'll be here tomorrow, and I hope you'll join us for our special coverage tomorrow. Good morning. Welcome to the Rob Snow Show today on City News. And if you're new in town, welcome. And can you leave it more or less the way you found it? We have a lot ahead for you between now and noon. Coming right up, he has been minding Ottawa's business all week. Tom Korski, managing editor, Blacklock's reporter. Blacklock's had some great stories this week, the team there. I think my favorite story of the week from the team at Blacklock's is the story about CMHC, Canada Mortgage and Housing. You know, there's been all this speculation just how big the deficit is, how big the national debt is now, $1.1, $1.2 trillion. Goes up $400 million a day. Can you imagine the national debt goes up $400 million a day? But everybody's making a killing in housing, right? So there's all this speculation that the government is going to eventually have to tap us for more to pay the COVID bill. That something's got to give. Higher taxes, new taxes. So it's only a matter of time before the government comes for your house and slaps a capital gains tax on the sale of your house. Now, the government has consistently denied that it would ever, we're never going to do it. We're never, ever going to put a capital gains tax on your house. Yet, and yet, the government's housing agency, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, spent $250,000 researching how to tax the sale of your house. So the head of CMHC appears before a committee and says, doing that research was a mistake. Oh, okay. Just a $250,000, $250,000, poof, oops, mistake. And you know what? And on it goes like that, and the wheels of government go round and round and round, and they're very expensive wheels. Derek Fage is going to join us this morning as well from Rogers Television. He's the host of Daytime Ottawa. We're going to talk about the convoy, get Derek's thoughts on it, right? And price of gas. The price of gas. The price of gas. $1.50. That's right, $1.50. Now, my wife tells this story. It gets better every time she tells it. About being in Bedford, Nova Scotia. She has 2 young children. Her children are quite young at the time. She's driving a red Jetta, 1991 Jetta. And the price of gas in Bedford, Nova Scotia is 35 cents a liter. And she's wondering how she's ever going to be able to afford to raise 2 young children if gas is 35 cents a liter. 35 cents a liter, you're killing me. Yeah, gas. $1.50 in Ottawa today. $1.50. $1.50. They love those big round numbers. It's hard. Once they hit those big round numbers, it's hard to get gas below those big round numbers again. Gas prices take the elevator up, they take the stairs down, you know. I mean, it's really $1.51 because around the corner here, it's 150.9 around the corner here from the radio station. Crazy. And that's with 80, what's oil at this point? 86, 87 bucks, I think I heard, U.S., West Texas oil. CNBC running this morning with a headline, $100 a barrel by the end of the year. $100 a barrel by the end of the year. What's the price of gas going to be by the end of the year? It's not doing anything to the Canadian dollar, though, which is really weird, and nobody can really figure it out. But The price of gas, the price of food, the price of, you name it. Everything seems to be going up, and still the Bank of Canada didn't raise interest rates this week. So anyway, the price of gas. Derek Fage and I are going to talk about that. I mean, there has to come a point. There's a breaking point for people, right? It's either, like, here, take my keys, Mr. Car Dealer. I am done. Give me a Presto card. Downtown preparations for the convoy. Christine Ledman back on the Rob Snow Show this week. She's former city councilor. Kitchissippi was the ward she represented for a while. She's also the leader of the Bank Street BIA. I heard on the news this morning some businesses in the core, they're just closing up shop for the weekend. They don't want to even be putting up with it. Yasser Naqvi as well, Liberal MP, Ottawa Centre, on the convoy. Going to do Queen's Park Week in Review with our panel of MPPs. Talk about the convoy. I mean, when we do our Queen's Park Week in Review with our panel of MPPs, we're usually joined by MPPs from various parts of the province, Northern Ontario, Southwestern Ontario, Southern Ontario, and this convoy's been all across Ontario as it heads toward Eastern Ontario. So we'll talk about it, price of gas as well, but also what Dr. Kieran Moore said yesterday. Dr. Moore is the province's chief medical officer of health, and he said we have to learn to live with COVID-19. We have to learn to live with the virus. Roll tape on that, Alex, for me this morning. Dr. Kieran Moore.
We have to understand with Omicron that we can't eliminate this threat, that in fact we have to learn to live with it, that we're trying to reduce our risk, but we cannot eliminate the risk in every aspect of our lives, and we have to have a balanced approach as a society against this threat. The ways we reduce the threats have worked well over the last 2 years, of masking and distancing and hand hygiene and staying home if you're sick. As well, we now have the benefit of very good vaccines.
That's good. That's good. Yep. Dr. Moore. We have to learn to live with it. We have to learn to live with it. That's not, somebody who's anti-lockdown or anti-vax saying that. That's the Ontario Medical Officer of Health saying that. Caught a few people by surprise yesterday. And look, it's Friday. You know how we roll on a Friday. Friday free-for-all, right? During the Talkback Hour, which we do every morning at 750-1310. 750-1310. 613-750-1310. Hottest hour of talk radio in town. An hour of phone calls, an hour of opinions. Your opinions. Okay, I don't come up with the topics during the Friday free-for-all. I've been doing that all week. So today it's your turn. Now, I have an idea what you may want to talk about. But we can talk about anything. Doesn't have to be about the protest. We can talk about anything. But, I mean, this protest is going to be a big one. It is going to be a big one. Biggest one in years, really. I think I was trying to think, when was the last time we've seen a protest like this? This may be the biggest protest in terms of the disruption that it causes. Probably the biggest protest in Ottawa since 2009. So this is my recollection anyway. 13 years or so. 13 years ago, there was a big protest downtown. I remember covering it. It was a protest by Tamil protesters. And they were calling on the Canadian government to do more to help end the war in Sri Lanka. The Tamils. And they blocked roads downtown, I mean, for days and days. And a lot of people in Ottawa were not happy about it at all. And I remember being on the radio and putting it to the police chief at the time. Vern White was the chief of police at the time. And I asked Chief White, these protesters were supposed to stay on Parliament Hill. And yet they're out there, they're blocking streets. They essentially closed down Centertown. They brought traffic to a complete standstill for days on end. Bus routes rerouted all over the place. You know, what are you going to do about that? You're the chief of police. You're supposed to be in charge of all this. And the police did nothing about it. They did nothing about it. And later, the police chief told me, if they had, say, moved in and somehow convinced all those protesters to get off the street and back onto the hill, all it would have taken, this is what Vern told me, all it would have taken was a few phone calls, and there would have been 100,000 more protesters on buses and on their way to Ottawa within 24 hours. And it would have made a bad situation worse. That's how the chief justified his decision at the time. So they just kind of waited it out. But I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. I'm hoping for the best. That it's a peaceful protest. But you have to prepare for any eventuality. You know, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen in our city this weekend? You think it could go sideways? That's what I'm worried about. It goes sideways. We can get into that or any other topic. It's all up to you during the Talkback Hour Friday free-for-all, because that's how we roll on a Friday morning on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
Opening a business especially in a pandemic, in that kind of situation, is very challenging. First, people don't know me, people don't know my product. To build a new clientele, to build a trust for them, to show that I care about it. I do love my food. That was the biggest challenge. And of course, in all lockdown, where I had to face it regards my employee, girls, ladies, what they work for me, I didn't want to tell them, sorry, I'm closed, I'm not having a job for you. No, they have families, they have kids to feed. So this is very important because we are family orientated. And we decided to open. We, of course, essential business. So been very tough, very, very tough, as we didn't see people on the road. Market was completely quiet, but we knew it that we have to wait, and we knew it that we're gonna be fine. In this town, we built online shop, Vedel Online, and we did Uber Eats, which one is picking up and is very, very popular. We have a really good feedback. So this is the song from my heart. And and we try to expand. I'm thinking about opening another location. So I want to make Vedel famous. I want to make the Vedel place to be for all the families with kids. Try the traditional food, what their grandparents cooked in the countries when they're from, or even Canadian people. They're more than welcome to come and try our famous pierogis. I try to be passionate about my food, organic food made with love, with all homemade, organic. So you can find food from all over the Europe: Polish, German, Ukrainian, Romanian, French, Armenian. So all kind of different types of food. Homemade lunches. We focus on the homemade lunches, grandma style. I keep always saying, like in my Genia Babcia house, how she cooked. I wanted this love and this food over here because I believe that will bring all people around me. And all the organic cold cuts, lovely selection of sausages, cheeses, European cheeses, great selections of mustards, French cookies. All what you need from Europe you can find here at the Vedel Touch of Europe. If you think good way, that's it. You have to. I had the option to cry in the corner and say, oh, pandemic is coming. No, you need to stand up and fight for it and have your eyes open, think outside of the box and do it.
On Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Tom Korski is back. He's been minding Ottawa's business all week. He is the managing editor, Blacklock's reporter. Morning.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Good week?
Yeah, and I know a lot of people complained about the cold. It reminds me of my prairie boyhood.
Oh, really?
It makes
Okay,
me
yeah.
feel young again, yeah.
Okay. How does it compare to the prairie cold, Tom?
Oh, no, this started at Halloween in the prairies, so this is like a walk in the park.
Oh, walk in the
park. It's like a
park.
picnic at Britannia Bay. It's nothing.
Okay. Suck it up, Buttercup. I remember a mayor of Ottawa said that, as a matter of fact. Suck it up, Buttercup. Okay. So, look, you've been following the ins and outs of the political machinery, the government machinery of Ottawa all week. Here we are, we're hours away from a massive demonstration rolling into Protest City, the nation's capital. If you've been sniffing around, I'd love to know what kind of questions you've been asking, Tom.
Well, our question is always the reaction of officialdom, and unfortunately, this takes a little bit of time. Last time, you remember United We Roll in 2019, we had to do a bunch of access to information requests and get the data back, sort of the internal emails from the Prime Minister's office. And they just went to pieces, Rob. They were so overwrought, it was almost, frankly, comedic and tragic at the same time. They had sent out memos telling contractors to batten down all equipment. They had this vision of brickbats flying through the air. They clear the rooftops. There was a memo that was shared among staff where they feared that the Prime Minister of Canada could be arrested or kidnapped based on social media posts from some of these truck drivers in 2019. They just wet their pants. Of course, nothing happened. There was an outbreak of free speech, and then everyone went home, blew off a little steam, everyone went home. But you recall after United We Roll in 2019, that then the head of the public service, Mike Wernick, chief clerk, he went into committee and fantasized with a violent fantasy about, I fear for assassination. What's happening with people's faith in government? The officialdom in this town is really not good with dissent and free speech. They've had 154 years of practice. They're not good at it, Rob.
Okay. So as far as officialdom goes and whatever's on the minds of people who advise the Prime Minister and cabinet ministers, whatever's on their minds, we won't know that for quite some time, right? You have to dig for it. You have to ask for it later, and you'll get it.
You're really looking for their emails, and that takes some time,
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's get into some of the other stories that you've been working on at Blacklocks this week. One of them is the Department of Health. $11 million worth of syringes. Where did they come from?
Yeah, apparently we're not smart enough to make syringes anymore. Do you remember we used to make satellites and locomotives and things like that? Yeah.
We can make cars, too. We can make cars, yeah.
We're just not capable, Rob. Yeah, they came from the People's Republic of China. Over $11 million worth of syringes ordered in a rush in 2020, we see through access to information, went to a factory in Shenzhen, in the mainland China. So it was a good deal for the shareholders of the Shenzhen syringe factory. It was a good year.
Yeah, $11 million worth of syringes, and of all the gin joints. Yeah, of course. it would be China. Yeah, of course it would be.
So much went to China. What was interesting for us is Monday's a big day, because Monday is the deadline for enforcement of a House order that was passed unanimously without a single dissenting vote in the House of Commons before Christmas to get rid of the China-made personal protective equipment in every federal office, in every city, nationwide.
Wow.
By order of the House of Commons. You want to watch for that.
Okay.
MPs are fed up. They said, this goes beyond self-respect and creation of jobs. Really, can we not make a mask in this country? Because the government spent hundreds of millions on sole-sourced contracts for Canadian masks.
Yeah. We have a new factory in Brockville. I think it's just in Brockville, a few hours from here. So
3M. They got
3M.
A grant.
Yeah, they got a big grant to do it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Federal credit cards. the Treasury Board is in violation of its own rules on proper use of federal cards. So this is auditors going in there just doing a random sample about the use of government-issued Bank of Montreal credit cards. What did they find?
It was disappointing.
I'm shocked.
It was. They found what I'm looking at the audit right now. 51%. In 51% of transactions, there was missing support documentation, quote unquote. That means there were no receipts and no authorization. Well, 51%. You're not even trying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not getting you into the winner's circle. 51%. But this is at the Treasury Board. And they make the rules for everybody else, Rob.
Yeah.
How fair is that? 13% of credit card purchases inaccurately entered into the financial reporting system. That means you don't even know what was spent.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's look sharp. I'm sure Treasury Board President Mona Forte is on this.
She's right on top of it. Yeah, right on top. So look, we've had there was a report from the public broadcaster this week about, the green retrofits program and what a schmozzle that is. You have to get the green inspector in to do the inspection of your house and then get the work done. And then you have to get the inspector back to make sure the work is compliant and, to try and get your modest rebate from the government is like trying to pull teeth. But another promise that was made by the government is a larger CMHC program. We give you $40,000 interest-free, which is great with interest rates, is set to go up. An interest-free loan, my gosh, to do all the great, wonderful green upgrades. What's going on with that program?
Yeah, it's like in the Sherlock Holmes story, The Dog That Didn't Bark. This was announced with fanfare. It was unbelievable last year. It was going to be huge. It was announced by the Minister of Finance, Minister Freeland. Like you say, $40,000 interest-free loan to improve your home.
Yeah.
To improve your insulation, your window, your furnace, to save you money. How great a deal is that? To this day, there is no place to send the application because the program isn't finalized. Time marches on. We do see this as a recurring problem, though, isn't it the case, Rob, with all governments for all time? Announce first and then get around to it later. They used to say when Maurice Duplessis was Premier of Quebec, he announced the same bridge 17 times.
Yeah, true enough. Okay. I mentioned this CMHC thing. This is crazy. And I've had this professor from UBC on the air and very activist, shall we say, the Professor Kershaw on CMHC studying putting a capital gains tax on your primary residence, which the government keeps saying, and the Prime Minister vows they'll never do it. But nevertheless, what does CMHC do? It hires this professor to research taxing people's homes. I mean, it's crazy, right? So how did she explain this? The head of CMHC.
They got caught, and then they said, and then the story changed. Shocked when we hired Professor Paul Kershaw, advocate of a home equity tax, and he came up with a report advocating a home equity tax. Didn't see that coming. Unfortunately for them, access to information, it takes time, but it's always worth it, Rob. Memos showed the CMHC knew exactly what they were doing when they funded that research. They didn't understand what home equity meant to working people. They really had no idea. It's inexplicable. It's like they don't even know working people. You would spend your lifetime. If you have kids, you don't have any money. You know that, Rob. Everything you will ever have is in your home, and you want that equity because without it, you will die when you are too sick to work. And they wanted to tax that. Just the concept of the trillions.
Yeah.
CMHC can't back out of that lane fast enough now. But you said it. For a program that's not going anywhere, officialdom keeps bringing it up. It's ironic and maddening.
Okay. Lobby Watch encourage it. Look, first of all, you should subscribe to Black Locks, and then you should just every now and then go to Lobby Watch because that's where the action is. And I'll tell you what, the busiest lobbyist in town, at least for the last week or so, has been Mary Scott Greenwood. What's she working on? Mary Scott Greenwood.
Tell me about Mary Scott Greenwood.
Mary Scott Greenwood is lobbying to encourage the federal government to reverse its suspension of the export of PEI potatoes to the United States. She is with the PEI Potato Board, and she is knocking on everyone's door in the lobbyist entry registry 14 times in the last week.
Well, then I think we know what's going to be in the budget.
Yeah. Encourage the federal government to reverse its suspension of export of PEI potatoes to the United States. All right, Tom, should be a heck of a weekend in Protest City. Enjoy it. See what happens. See how it all unfolds. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yep, Tom Korski, managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. Rob Snow Show City News.
In Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, January 28th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now, feeling colder in the wind in Ottawa, -19, Smiths Falls, -18. And here's what's making news this hour. We can tell you one of the spokes of this trucker convoy protest is on the move today. Truckers that gathered in Kingston yesterday began leaving that city around 8:30 this morning as planned, and they're headed up the 401. Now, it's not clear if they will all head to Cornwall first, then on to Ottawa, or possibly up the 416. Either way, the OPP advising people traveling both the 416 and 417 this weekend to not do that if possible, because it will be busier than normal. Now, the city and police will be holding a briefing later on this morning at 11 o'clock. The Rob Snow Show will also hear from local MP Yasser Naqvi. That is coming up shortly on the Rob Snow Show at 9:45. We will also carry that police and city media briefing for you at 11 o'clock. Some smaller businesses in the downtown core making a decision to close as people have been warned to stay away from the downtown, especially tomorrow as that protest is scheduled to officially begin around noon. City News will have special edition of the Rob Snow Show tomorrow starting at 11 o'clock in the morning. We'll keep you up to date on the protest, reporters in the downtown, as well as several guests. A major problem in the U.S. is the state of its infrastructure. One glaring example today as the President, Joe Biden, was set to speak on that issue in Pittsburgh as a bridge collapsed in that city. It prompted rescuers to rappel nearly 50 meters while others formed a human chain, rescuing multiple people from a dangling bus. City News Time, 9:34. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Returns with Derek Fage, host, Daytime Ottawa, Rogers Television. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm okay, except that I've had this stupid song, We Got a Great Big Convoy, in my head for the last... We got a great big convoy rocking through the night.
It's going to be an earworm all day for me, Rob. What are you doing? Oh, my gosh. I'm heading to the cottage, and that's all I'm going to be.
Oh, really? You're getting out of town, are you? You're going up to the Kaz. Eh?
Yeah, getting the hell out of Dodge, my friend.
Holy cow! Yeah.
Getting out of, and mind you, I have a long afternoon ahead because I'm not only working on daytime this week. I've been interviewing our good city councilors for a show we call Ward Updates 2022. So
okay.
Interviewing the majority of city council and the mayor, and I've got 6 city councilors lined up for this afternoon. Half-hour interviews each, so a busy day ahead. But as soon as that's done, I'm out of here. Yeah.
And plus, I'm putting you to work.
And you're putting me to work. I don't mind the work, to be honest with you.
It is kind of it is interesting that I get the papers, like the old-fashioned print copy of the papers. The Globe and Mail, nothing on the front page about it, no pictures or anything. Ottawa Citizen has like one little picture. And it just says, truckers nearing Capitol, convoy coverage, A3, A9, National Post 2. And then you take the Sun, and it's like, convoy for freedom, rolling thunder. And it's like that.
It's no surprise, is it? It's no surprise.
So to type. So anyway, it's very, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about the weekend and what's ahead? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it could go either way, right? Like, I'm certainly hoping for a peaceful protest, which I think, it began as that. And I'm not going to, jump into the hyperbole that both sides are going after here. I mean, let's be honest. I think some people are blowing it out of proportion, but then you have a situation where you have, factions that love jumping in on situations like this, right? Yeah, absolutely. It could end up being a peaceful protest, and but I think we've seen with some of the language that's being used on social media and how people are presenting, what's going to happen with the memorandum of understanding that will be that will be handed over to.
If only if it was that easy. I'm disappointed with the government. I'm going to go see Mary Simon.
Yeah. She's gonna help me out. Yeah. She's gonna take this and reverse all vaccine mandates in the country. Yeah. Even though pretty much it's the province's responsibility to reverse mandates. Rob, I really hope it ends up. I have a feeling it will, to be honest with you, but I do think, the media is partly responsible for the way that they have built this up and really ignoring it. I don't think you shouldn't ignore thousands of people. I mean, and that's what I expect. There's Theo Fleury on Fox News. 1.4 million people will be descending upon Ottawa. I don't know where people are getting their numbers from, but it certainly will be thousands because you're also not just the truckers. You're going to get people from Ottawa that support this convoy, and they're going to be showing up, I think, in the hundreds. And you're going to get people from outside of Ottawa who are going to make the trip here and join the protest on Parliament Hill. So let's just hope some of these factions that like to take advantage of situations like this with, what they jumping in with what they hope is a mob mentality and start causing trouble on Parliament Hill and in and around the downtown area. Let's hope that cooler heads
and counter protesters too, right? So it could get,
that's a possibility. Yeah. I think people are probably, authorities are asking people not to counter protest because that's just going to inflame the situation. But that's certainly a distinct possibility, and I think you're going to see a few. I don't think you're going to see anything amongst the hundreds or thousands of people counter protesting, though.
Okay. So I'm a little bit confused about your comments on the media. Do you think we've hyped it up too much, or have we given it fair coverage?
I think we've given them a bigger voice than was necessary.
Okay.
I think, it's interesting because, I just had a friend send me a note by text saying, this is exciting times. People are recognizing Canada for the first time. And it's like, oh my God, do we have to go through this again? Like we're so desperate for attention that, anything that comes along and, here we are, like if we get mentioned on Jeopardy, for God's sakes, we lose our minds. Oh my God, there was a Canadian question.
They they didn't know the answer, those dumb Americans.
Exactly. Yeah. Those idiot Americans. Yeah. I think sometimes we look for news in any kind of situation, and this is news, and we should be taking it seriously, but I think we've gone a little over the top, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Let's play the clip again of Dr. Kieran Moore. Dr. Kieran Moore, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health. This is what he said during a briefing yesterday.
We have to understand with Omicron that we can't eliminate this threat, that in fact we have to learn to live with it, that we're trying to reduce our risk, but we cannot eliminate the risk in every aspect of our lives, and we have to have a balanced approach as a society against this threat.
Good, Alex. Thanks. Yeah. We have to learn to live with it. We have to learn to live with it.
Rob, have we not said this months ago? I mean...
Well, maybe we've said it. Maybe you've said it. And callers to the Rob Snow Show have said it. Lots of people have said it. But nobody in officialdom has said it.
Like he's not the first... He's not the first doctor or somebody in the medical or scientific profession that believes in vaccines that have said... we're going to have to learn to live with it. I honestly think we do. And, again, a friend of mine that I've been going back and forth with that refuses to get a vaccine says, well, what if you have to get a fourth? And what if you have to get a fifth? And what if you have to get a sixth? Well, then I'll just get a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. What's the big deal here? This is unprecedented. You've never seen so many scientists come together around the world to come up with vaccines in a situation like this. Everyone thinks that these vaccines just appeared out of nowhere. They've been working on these vaccines for many, many years, right? This isn't all of a sudden.
Well, mRNA technology isn't new technology.
Well, exactly. And then have they been prepared for a pandemic? Certainly not.
No.
But they've certainly been prepared to work on mRNAs, for the last 2 decades. And here we are, they've come together in unprecedented numbers and sharing information and sharing data and sharing the science behind it.
I guess when I hear Dr. Moore say we have to learn to live with it, you have to learn to live with it, I would suggest maybe he's speaking more to government than regular people. I think regular people are, like, to your point, Derek, regular people, they've been at that point for a while now. We have to learn to live with it.
Yeah.
It may be the political leaders they're the ones having a difficult time coming to the reality that we have to learn to live with.
The realization, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe now that, for example, Dr. Moore has said this. Dr. Moore is giving politicians like Doug Ford the political cover, right, to ease restrictions.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point for sure. And the people that are making the decisions, it's quite easy to make decisions when you have a full salary. And you're able to, have your groceries delivered to home and sit back and relax and drink your brandy in front of your fireplace and make decisions for lockdowns and shut down, small retail and restaurants that can police themselves. We've got to eventually just realize, as Dr. Moore just said, yes, we're going to have to live with it. Let's be cautious. If you're not comfortable going to a restaurant, taking off a mask and eating and drinking, then don't do it yet. But we can't just stay in a lockdown. People are losing their livelihoods.
Yeah. $1.50 for gas this morning.
Oh my goodness.
$1.50. It's like a psychological thing, right? Like $1.50. It's $1.50
for sure.
Yeah. Like I remember when it hit $1. It was like $1 for gas.
Those are the good old days.
Yeah, the good old days.
Under $1.40.
Yeah, good old days. Like 8 months ago, like the good old days.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm actually glad. So, I you know me, I'm a people person. I love to be around people. My job is, one that's creative and that you like to share information with people. So I love going into the station. But quite frankly, as I start seeing $1.50 for gas, I'm pretty happy to be doing my shows from home.
I bet you are. I bet you are. Yeah,
absolutely, for sure.
Sure thing.
And I'm in a great neighborhood. I live in Vanier, so I'm by my local metro. I can actually walk to and from the store and to get all my essentials. A pharmacy is another short walk away. So I've got no issue.
You've got it set. You're set.
Oh yeah, I'm living the dream here.
Living the dream off of Montreal Road.
Dream, yeah.
Living the dream off of Montreal Road. I love it. No, I've actually done a nice job with Montreal Road and the redesign.
Yeah, I actually spoke with Matthew Fleury, was one of my counselors yesterday, and we spoke about that revitalization on Montreal Road. And they have done a great job.
Have they? Let me ask you. I haven't. Sorry, Derek. I haven't been in Vanier in a while. Have they torn down that motel to make way for the new Sally Ann mega shelter yet? Have they actually torn that old motel down? For that Salvation Army?
That's a good question. I don't believe they have yet. I talked to, of course, Matthew Fleury does not like the.
Oh, he doesn't want it there.
He does. He doesn't want it. Himself and our local MP and MPP are they feel that it's not what we should be looking at right now as far as the way that we do shelters and I agree with them. We should be looking at more stable.
Supportive housing, sure. Supportive housing, yeah. Supportive housing, I suppose, yeah. But I don't know. It's a mess for Councillor Fleury, and to some degree, it's a mess of his own making. I mean, he chased them. He basically chased the Sally Ann out of the Byward Market.
Yeah.
He chased it.
It's got to go somewhere, right? It's not my neighborhood.
Look, he was hearing it. He was hearing it. Because the Byward Market of now is not the same Byward Market of 25 years ago. There's been a lot of intensification. Look at the high-rise, people in those condos, $700,000, $100,000 condos, $1 million condos. They're paying big property taxes, right?
Absolutely.
So
and you got the new hotels down there as well.
So Councillor Fleury and the mayor were getting a lot of complaints about the Salvation Army and the activity that was going on around the Salvation Army. So they pressured the Salvation Army to get out of the Booth Center.
I know, and it's not easy.
And then they're like, okay, we'll get out of the Booth Center. We'll get out of the Booth Center. We bought this place on Montreal Road, and now they're like, no, you can't go to Montreal Road. It's like, well, make up your mind. What do you want? We're going to put it in Canada? Why don't we? Let's put it on Island Park Drive. Why don't we do that? Should we put it on Island Park Drive? What about Rockcliffe? Maybe we'll put it up in Rockcliffe Park.
Yeah, you have to put it in a neighborhood where you know it's going to fit, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Right. And quite frankly,
Crystal Beach. What about Crystal Beach? Okay. All right. Look, we're going to jump here.
You're panicking people around the city, Rob.
I'm going to let you go. Yasser Naqvi's coming up here. So,
all right.
Look. Safe travels up to the Kaz.
Thank you very much.
All right, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out.
Okay. Thanks, Derek. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Derek Fage, watch him on Daytime Ottawa on Rogers Television. We're back. Yasser Naqvi, Liberal MP, Ottawa Centre, joins me next on City News.
Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Okay, so again, a few things that we're following. First of all, there's a city briefing. We have learned through our City Hall sources, city briefing 11 o'clock, right, Alex? 11 o'clock. Mayor's going to be there. Ottawa Police Service, we believe, will be there as well. And it's a briefing on kind of the preparations for what's to come. Now, just developing now is the OPP. There's a fuel tanker has rolled over on the 416 northbound. So Ottawa bound, okay, on the 416 near Fallowfield. And it's blocked one lane. So quite slow through there. And it's a fuel spill. So you know what they're like. They can be kind of all-day things. And it hasn't closed traffic altogether, but it is one lane blocked for now as they clean up everything. So, I don't know what that means for the convoy traffic that is coming in from Kingston, but you would think it's probably going to slow things down. Now, it's 9:52. It's the Rob Snow Show. It's City News, and it's great to have back on the program Ottawa Centre Member of Parliament, Liberal Yasser Naqvi. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you these days?
I'm very well, thank you, and congratulations on your nuptials. I haven't had the chance to tell you that personally. It's been a while, I know.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. It's very kind of you, Yasser.
Lady.
Yeah, it's very kind of you, Yasser. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Look, what is going through your head as you see what's coming to the capital? I mean, protests are nothing new for the capital city, but everyone seems to be on edge about this one. So what are you thinking?
Yeah, and my thought exactly where you just started. We are the capital city for the nation, and our parliament is located in Ottawa, and so protests are natural to us. And in a democratic society like ours, peaceful, respectful protests have always taken place and are always welcome. My only other thought, and what I'm hearing from the community, and I just remind the protesters who are coming in, is that it's also a community. There are people who live in the downtown core where the protests will be taking place. There's important places that we as members of the community use. So we just obviously ask that the protesters be respectful and exercise their democratic right in a peaceful manner.
Okay. What are you worried about?
I'm worried about any notion of that it's not peaceful. I mean, there's various reports, and one will see. I'm just hopeful, and I always believe in Canadians that we are respectful and we are peaceful people, and we express our point of view, whether we agree with each other or not, and that's totally natural and normal as well. I just really hope that there's no harassment, there's no intimidation towards people who live in our community. And I really also hope that there is no elements of hate speech or vitriol. Those kind of things are just never correct, never acceptable, and especially in the environment we're living in where people are feeling so anxious, Rob, because of this pandemic. Let's hope that we respect each other as we've always done.
Okay. What is the government trying to achieve? What is the goal of this vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers? What is in the end, it's a public policy decision. It's a government decision. And it's obviously set this into motion. So what is the government's goal here, Yasser? What is the government's goal here with this policy?
The government goal is pretty simple and straightforward, and which is to put an end to this pandemic. We cannot move forward in our lives. We cannot ensure that we have stable, integrated supply chain in North America unless and until we put an end to this pandemic. And we also know, Rob, that vaccines and vaccination is the surest way of putting an end to this pandemic. And if you look at the trucking sector, and if you look at truckers who've been working extremely hard throughout this pandemic, almost 90% of them are vaccinated and are traveling back and forth between the two borders and making sure that goods are being transported as it's always been, it's been done. And that's why the Americans and the Canadians working together are ensuring that truckers who cross borders are fully vaccinated. So, we need to get to the other side of this pandemic, and we need to do so by ensuring that people are vaccinated. And this disease, which is highly contagious and transmissible, as we have learned over the last 2 years, and that we, put an end to that cycle.
Okay, I'm going to play a clip from a news event that was hosted by Prime Minister Trudeau this week. This is Prime Minister Trudeau.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other.
Okay. These words like fringe, terms like unacceptable views. Are we not getting pretty close to the line, or maybe even crossing the line, where we're starting to demonize Canadians for their decision not to be vaccinated? That we're demonizing them?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think he is referring to that particular aspect in that clip. I think we're seeing some quite. There's certain element of rhetoric that we're also hearing, Rob, that I was alluding to earlier, which is to divide people, which is to start calling names. We're what disturbed me the most, and I mean, just yesterday we commemorated International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I have seen references to people equating not getting vaccinated or requirements, to get vaccinated to Nazi rule or Holocaust. I mean, this is the kind of stuff which you and I think every Canadian, reasonable Canadian, believes that it's just not. That's just not right.
Yeah, we agree on that. But I wonder if the Prime Minister is doing enough to unite. Do you think the Prime Minister is doing enough to unite Canadians? Yes.
I think the Prime Minister is working extremely hard, along with I would say all elected representatives. I will include even Premier Ford. I don't think this is a matter of ideology. Everybody's working extremely hard to get us through this pandemic. We are following the science as to what that's telling us. We're following medical experts as to what they're saying, and they're all telling us that we need to get vaccinated to put an end to this pandemic so that we can move forward with our lives.
Okay. Look, it's always great to talk to you, even if maybe we have some disagreements here and there. But it's always great to hear from you, Yasir Naqvi. I appreciate the time this morning.
Thank you, Rob. And again, we disagree, but it's always respectful, and that is the essence of being Canadian. And I will engage in that conversation with you and anybody every day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Yep, stay warm. Bye-bye. Yasir Naqvi, Ottawa Centre MP, Liberal, used to be the MPP. 10 o'clock, holy smokes. Friday Free for All Talkback Hour coming right up, 750-1310. Let's roll. News next, City News.
number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, January 28th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, feeling colder in the wind now. It's minus 19 degrees and it's minus 18 in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Ottawa police and city officials will update us on the trucker protest convoy about 1 hour from now. City News and Rogers TV will carry this for you. The officials will talk about the operational update on the arrival of protesters scheduled through this afternoon and into tomorrow. I'll stay with City News, Ottawa and Smiths Falls for this, coming up at 11 o'clock during the Rob Snow Show. And as you heard on that show from Ottawa MP Yasser Naqvi, he is hoping this protest is peaceful.
I'm just hopeful, and I always believe in Canadians that we are respectful and we are peaceful people, and we express our point of view, whether we agree with each other or not, and that's totally natural and normal as well. I just really hope that there's no harassment.
Now, Kingston police say all truckers, some 561 by their count, that were in that city have now left. They began filing out around 8:30 this morning, heading down the 401, the last truck leaving just after 9:30. Where they go from there, though, whether to the rallying point in Cornwall or straight to Ottawa, is anyone's guess right now. Let's stay with City News. We have coverage for you throughout the day and into tomorrow. In fact, a special edition of the Rob Snow Show tomorrow morning starting at 11 o'clock. The protest is scheduled to officially begin around Parliament Hill tomorrow at noon. Storm on Dundas Glengarry, closing County Road 19 at County Road 19A to Headline Road and to Highway 138. Local traffic only is getting through that section until about 1:30 this afternoon. That road closed to allow for the Freedom Convoy to roll through. The United Counties say to expect significant delays during that time. City News time at 10:04 and a traffic note this hour. As Rob mentioned on his show, a tanker has rolled on the 416. So this is near Fallowfield northbound. One lane is currently blocked. Now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Extreme cold returns, and it will get even colder as we work through the day. Risk of frostbite by tonight. Already reached our high for the day. That came early this morning for the afternoon, about minus 15. Most areas, lots of sunshine. Minus 28 for the low. Will feel like minus 37 with the wind. For the weekend, plenty of sunshine. Highs minus 11 to about minus 13. For today, already reached the high for the day. For the afternoon, minus 15.
And right now in Ottawa, minus 19, it's minus 18 degrees in Smiths Falls. The OPP says a missing 13-year-old we told you about earlier this morning has been found safe. This boy missing from Amherst View was located this morning, and the OPP thanked the public for their help. A bridge collapsed in Pittsburgh. This happened just hours before the American president was to visit that city, talking about infrastructure.
It's a small bridge running over a creek in Pittsburgh's Frick Park, but it collapsed with a commuter bus on the span and several cars. The Public Safety Department says a natural gas line was severed. President Biden's visit to Pittsburgh is to talk about the $1 trillion infrastructure bill that includes bridge maintenance around the country. I'm Jackie Quinn.
And I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
And it's a Friday free-for-all, our favorite hour of the week around here, because we don't come up with the topics. We leave that up to you. Anything goes. Okay, not anything goes, okay? Within reason, right? I do have a feeling there's one story on just about everyone's mind this morning because the phones are jam-packed right now. But we'll see how the hour goes. I mean, the convoy's a big story. It's such a big story, they're making me work the weekend. Thanks a lot, truckers. Okay, you're making me work the weekend. Live coverage tomorrow. I'll be on the air. The boss is telling me it's 11 o'clock for now. I'll be in the studio long before that, and of course we're going to stick with this story all day long, and I don't know, into Sunday, I guess, if that's what it takes. But if you want to know what's going on in the city today and tomorrow, City News, the place to be. But look, the trucker thing's not the only story. It's actually a very busy news week. Okay, very busy. I mean, the Russia-Ukraine / Canada thing, that big story. That's a big story. Andrew Coyne has such a good column in this morning's Globe and Mail on that about how Canada is going to do everything it can to help the Ukrainians, except send them weapons. As I said yesterday, we're going to send them binoculars and best wishes. But if they want guns and bullets, sorry, you're on your own. Somehow I expected more from a government with a Ukrainian Canadian as deputy prime minister. But once again, I am left wanting. Also in the news, we talked a lot about this in the last hour. The soundbite from Dr. Kieran Moore, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health. You have to learn to live with COVID-19. I wasn't expecting him to say that. I know a lot of people think that already, but I didn't expect him to say that. But he said that yesterday. Have to learn to live with it. This as restrictions begin to ease across the province of Ontario on Monday. Record price for gas this morning. Record price for gas, $150.9 at the Esso around the corner here. That's Walkley and Conroy. It's usually a little on the high side of that Esso there anyway. But and CNBC this morning, there is at least one Wall Street firm that's predicting $100 a barrel before the end of the year. Gosh, the way things are going could be before the end of next month. The way the oil price has been going, about $87 a barrel this morning. Okay, gas. Ooh, it's hurting. Justin Trudeau's in isolation because of COVID exposure. COVID exposure. Now, every single person in the last 24 hours that I've talked to about that, they've heard that and they've kind of rolled their eyes. You rolling your eyes too, Alex? You're rolling your eyes at that, right? We have this big protest coming to Ottawa. Mr. Trudeau's in isolation, and they're saying things like, what, he can't take a rapid test? He's the Prime Minister of Canada. Even he can't get a PCR test? I don't know. Some people find it hard to believe. But we're pretty wide open this morning. Convoy is the story, but and I guess to get the conversation going, I always like to ask at least one question, even during the Friday free-for-all, and that is, what do you think is going to happen in our city? What do you think is going to happen? You think this could go sideways? You think this thing could go sideways? Okay. Let's get to it here. Friday free-for-all talkback hour, Rob Snow Show. Michelle, Ottawa. Michelle.
What a week, Rob. What a week.
Boy, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and this past week we had our annual corporate-sponsored National Mental Health Day to remind us that we're not alone and we're listening and we're all in this together. You had a caller earlier this week who said there's a bad energy.
Bad energy. Yes, I do remember that caller, yeah.
Everybody agreed, right? Yeah. Oh, but look on the rise and here comes some hope. You're not alone. We're feeling the pain too. What a great message. It's support. How bad do you have to feel? How hopeless do you have to be to volunteer to drive across Canada in January? Even with global warming, it's dark, freezing, and dangerous. And if we're picking a rally to remember, let's remember the 1995 Quebec referendum. Show support, forward together. We care about each other. In Canada, today, people are in pain and fear. They can't hang on and they're losing hope. And we've got a convoy who's fighting back simply by uniting, driving, and arriving. We have young families willing to stand in minus 23 temperatures just to wave.
Yeah.
What a free country. What a great people.
Okay.
Oh, but wait. The voices, the positions of power voices, the Prime Minister calls the convoy the out-of-touch fringe group. Has anyone ever heard Trudeau thank the out-of-touch fringe that have paid their taxes to support generations of his family? And more locally, we have our City Councillor, Catherine McKenna, issuing a behavioral decree. Gosh, thanks, Tips. It's not your show. But to the far right and to the loony left, I say, get lost. All of you, get lost.
Are you afraid, Michelle, just let me get a word in edgewise here. I love the comment so far. I like the comment so far. Are you afraid it could go sideways here?
I worry, but listen, the best yesterday from the left leading voices was Robert Benzies, who referred to the convoy and their supporters as a monochromatic group of people, followed up with white crazies. Unreal the arrogance and cruelty that the left leading voices have. Those are the voices. That's the garbage that leads to violence that we all fear. That's the crap that we're all sick of. What difference does it make what color the people are? It's enough of this crap, but listen, seriously now, and on a very sad note, tomorrow night in Ottawa, we also have a vigil for the victims of hate in Quebec. And we had the Holocaust remembrance this past week. We all need to take a moment and remember and think and care for each other. And Rob, the last thing I'd like to say is be safe, because you don't want to have to join the COVID protection program.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, so far so good, I guess. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. She puts a lot of thought into her calls, doesn't she? Yeah, she sure does. John, Ottawa. John, good morning.
Hey, how are you?
Good,
First-time caller. A little nervous here, but
that's okay, John.
I've written something here, so I think it'll make it a little bit easier on me here. So,
okay. All right, try your best.
Just basically, I want to kind of explain, when Trudeau says that this is a fringe movement and 90% of people have their vax, and that means that 90% of people support vaccine mandates and all this kind of stuff. So I just want to say something here. So in around late August, I had a bonfire party. I had about 25 friends over in my backyard, and, we're just hanging out, all of us, late 30s, early 40s, right?
Okay.
So of the 25 people we had, I did a little poll, and there was 12 of us that were unvaxxed and 13 vaxxed, right? Everyone was very open, and we were talking, good friends. So basically at that point, everybody who wanted a vax could have had one, right? Late August, all ages other than the kids could have a vax.
Right.
Okay, so then the government announces, that you're not going to be able to work for us, and the city announces you're not going to be able to work for us unless you get your shots.
Right.
So a few of them got their shots.
Okay.
Then there was the announcement that you can't travel on an airplane, right?
Yeah.
A few more go and get their shots. Then the province decides that you can't go to a restaurant, you can't be healthy at a gym, or to me, the sickest part of it all, you can't go and see your child participate in sports or activities if you don't get your shots. At that point, basically everybody that was left.
So using your sample, what was basically 50-50.
Almost 50-50, yeah. And now, I mean, to be fair, I do live in a rural...
The pressure ratcheted up the vaccinated number.
Exactly. And to be fair, I do live in a rural area. I'm out near Greeley, so, maybe not reflective of the urban area of Ottawa, but still, pretty good sample size. We're all middle-aged people with children just trying to live our lives and, carry on.
Okay, all right.
So I guess my point is that, these truckers that are coming, they're not just supporting anti-vaxxers or what you would call anti-vax. They're supporting people who got the vaccines under complete coercion to the point that they weren't allowed to either support their families or see their children. Like, that to me is really disgusting.
But they were coerced into getting the vaccine. Okay. What I want to get at is, do you have any fear at all of this going to go sideways? That I'm all for protest, John. John, yes. I've spoken at protests. I've attended many protests in my time. Big believer in peaceful protests, John.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like motherhood and apple pie to me.
Absolutely.
The ability to go and have your say and voice your disagreement with the government
policy. I want to
policy.
just go down, shake hands, and hug a few truckers.
Sure.
That's how I feel right now.
Sure, but I'm a little worried that all it's going to take is a couple of people.
Absolutely. I agree. And I don't know if you've heard what Poilievre has been saying lately, but, you take a massive group of people, it doesn't matter what you support.
Yeah. I talked to Pierre the other day. I talked to Pierre the other day, and I made this point with a New Democrat friend of mine because it came up during the NDP policy convention. Look, you put 1,000 New Democrats in the room, there are going to be a few anti-Semites in there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Exactly.
Look, okay. But you are worried that it could get kind of ugly this weekend, right? You do realize
the thing for me that worries me the most, to be honest, is counter protesters trying to bait people, I don't want to go to it because I don't want to lose this call, but we saw what happened in Montebello. Everybody saw with the agent provocateur. It's on CBC News. It was admitted by the Sûreté de Quebec, the police officers. This has happened in the past. Okay. That is honestly my number one worry.
All right. I'm not familiar with that. I got to let you go, but thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. I understand your point. I think the way you outlined it was, it's very interesting the way you outlined it. 1017 This is the Rob Snow Show, City News.
Papa Jack was started 14 years ago, really by accident more than anything. A friend of mine had bought a grocery store, a popcorn machine was in there. He didn't want it. I ended up by buying it. My family thought I was nuts. When I first said, come and pick up this popcorn machine, my son said, what the heck for? I won't use exact words. But anyway, we started, and it just kept on growing and growing. But at the time, I was the only one selling popcorn in Ottawa. But we persevered as a family, and here we are. So it's been very, very rewarding for my family and myself. And to see our brand name, Papa Jack, and Papa Jack came out of, I wanted something that was going to be very bilingual. So Papa, and then in Ontario, everybody called me Jack, even though my name is Jacques. In Quebec, it's fine, it's Jacques, but in Ontario, it was always Jack. So we married the two together, Papa, Jack. With the store that we have on Thurston Drive, it basically, the factory's in the back. If you come into the store, you can see how the popcorn is being made during the week. So it adds an extra layer of, you can see the sanitation, you can see how we do it. It's not like making popcorn. Most people thought when I started this, I was making popcorn in my garage or in my basement. No, never did. It was started in this building, in the back of the building, and then we kept growing and growing until what we have now. My daughter and my son came up with a brilliant idea to do a fundraiser online. So basically all people have to do is to register here, and we give them a special code number. And with that code number, they tell their friends or their neighbors, everybody, to buy online from us with that code number. And then at the end of each period, could be 2 weeks, could be a month, then we'll pay them a 20% of all the businesses that we got through that code number. One thing I'd like to say is thank you to all the Ottawa people who have supported us and support local businesses. Sometimes people, they talk about buying locally. Now it becomes that much more important to buy locally, to support your local businesses, because not too many of them are going to survive this. We're fortunate that we're so far so good.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
What do you think's going to happen this weekend? Okay. I can't help but be a little bit worried, right? That however well-intentioned this thing was when it was organized a week ago, Ruth in Canada called. And, I've met Ruth at a few protests, actually, in my time in Ottawa. We met up at a few protests, actually, Ruth. Whatever this was, a week ago, maybe it's something entirely else now. And, I don't know what to expect. I really don't. I don't know what to expect. I honestly have no idea what is going to happen tomorrow. I'm sure going to be covering it, though. Special coverage tomorrow, As I said in my Snow and 60 commentary this morning on Shay, I'd love nothing more than for all of these truckers to come to Ottawa, yell at the top of your lungs, right? Inconvenience people for a day or two. Get your point across, protest, demonstrate, yell, scream, chant, sing, dance, whatever. As long as it's peaceful, right? That is what is constitutionally protected. Peaceful assembly. If it's about rights, and how many times have you heard that in the last year? My rights, my rights, my rights. What about my rights? And everybody is obsessed with the charter and their charter rights. Well, gosh, go and read the darn charter. It's written in a very deliberate way. peaceful assembly. I'm a huge fan of peaceful protest. Peaceful protest is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. It is what separates liberty from the darkness of tyranny. But look, one punch thrown, one window smashed, people running worse, you have lost me. You have lost me, and you've lost the plot. Joanne, Orleans. Good morning, Joanne.
Morning. I want to say, Michelle, God bless you. You're so eloquent. Agreed 100% with her portrayal of the whole thing. This protest is about the mandates. The organizer has been very clear about whether or not, many are vaxxed, some are unvaxxed. Bottom line is it's the mandates. It's the government overreach of trying to insinuate itself into your life beyond what they should. I am not happy with the kind of focus the mainstream media has been doing. Do I think this is going to go sideways? Not necessarily. No, not from the truckers. I used to participate in the March for Life. It was the largest protest on record for the gathering on the Hill. We used to be up to over 20,000 people, as high one year as 23 to 24,000. The March for Life was peaceful every year. We had some ugly, virulent anti-March for Life protesters, so pro-abortion protesters. They would be naked, they would be vile, they would be throwing liquid on participants and so on. That had nothing to do with the march itself. That was 100% the opposing voice, so to speak. Why they weren't jailed on the spot, why they weren't sequestered or separated is still a mystery to me. I don't think this convoy should wear what the anti-convoy might do. What those protesters might do.
Right. But
they're coming here in goodwill.
What, Joanne? Just let me jump in there. What if they've kind of latched themselves on to the trucker protest here, or infiltrated it, or whatever term you want to use?
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Like the protests in the U.S. where people tried peacefully to protest and Black Lives Matter took over and violently and recklessly destroyed property, killed people, injured people, set fire to things and all that, right? I'm still appalled that these people are being held to account for what fringes might do. I think Pierre Poilievre stated it very well. Why don't
the Prime Minister says they are the fringe. The Prime Minister says they are the fringe.
The Prime Minister,
not the fringe of the fringe. So
I think the Prime Minister has been so profoundly divisive, so disrespectful of Canadians. He doesn't deserve to hold office. And his cowardly move of not being present for this, of not addressing them, or sending, if he's actually been exposed. I believe he's a liar, so I don't believe him. But why isn't he sending the Deputy Prime Minister? Why is Chrystia Freeland, for example, the voice of the party, why is she not meeting with them? In a mutual respect, how Michelle portrayed it, and your previous caller, when you decide to cross the country at your own expense in this deadly cold, no matter where you're coming from, how can you not be heard? Why do we have to ascribe to them such ugly motives? They're coming for why they said they're coming. They're doing something phenomenal. People are rallying around them because they've had the freedom and the courage to do this on their own behalf.
Okay.
But others have decided to say,
right.
What, you speak for me.
Okay. We'll see where we are on Monday, Joanne. Thank you. Okay. Let's take this one here. Ron, Smith Falls. Ron, you're on City News.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, Ron. Oh, my gosh, there's a blast from the past.
Long time,
Ron. Yeah.
Rob, what scares me more than anything are these idiots that are out there that go around on these large protests and counteract to what's going on. These people you have seen, we all have seen many times, go to different protests and cause trouble. I hope this does not happen. And I wonder if the RCMP and the Ottawa Police and whoever else have a handle on this. Are they knowledgeable that there are groups that maybe start coming in here this weekend? The other thing is, I'm very disappointed in our Prime Minister because he should be standing there and addressing these people. These are Canadians.
Well, I don't know.
And these are taxpayers, and I don't believe...
But you see how hostile they are to the Prime Minister. I mean, there's a guy driving a truck downtown right now, with a giant transport trailer that says F Trudeau on the side of it. That's the only thing that says, like, F Trudeau is the only thing it says.
And,
are you going to put the Prime Minister out in front of that environment?
Somebody has...
I don't know, man.
I don't know, Rob, but somebody has to speak to these people in a very polite manner too, because these people are angry.
Well, I mean, nobody from the government side is going to go out there and speak to them because, I mean, the Prime Minister has said it. They have unacceptable views. They're a fringe, and they have unacceptable views. And
you're right.
It's one step. It's just shy of deplorables. It's almost like the basket of deplorables moment.
But I just hope that there's no destruction and there's nobody.
Well, yeah. That's my fear, Ron. That's my fear. I would love nothing more than for them to just come and have their say. Hold up traffic, doesn't bother me. Honk your horn, shout, wave the flag, do all of it. Just keep it peaceful. That's all.
Well, I like peaceful demonstrations also, like you do.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron. Look, it's good to hear from you, Ron. I'm glad. Gosh, I haven't heard from you in so long. As soon as I heard your voice, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Ron from Smiths Falls.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah. Very much, Rob.
Thanks, man.
Things have changed a little bit for me, so thanks.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. All the best, Ron. Thanks. Yeah. Man, oh man. That guy used to call me all the time. 1029, Rob Snow Show, City News.
In Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, January 28th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now, feeling a lot colder in the wind, but it's minus 18 degrees in Ottawa. Smiths Falls, also minus 18. And here's what's making news right now. We'll carry a live media briefing for you coming up in just less than half an hour from now on City News and Rogers TV. The city and police updating the protest convoy, a portion of which left Kingston, some 561 vehicles strong, and headed for the capital this morning. The protesters coming in from at least 3 different directions, though, so you've been warned to stay away from the downtown streets, especially tomorrow as protests are scheduled to begin at noon, but the collection of rigs in the downtown has started already. A couple of trucks along Wellington, some farm equipment rolling through, and a whole lot of police at the moment. Now, a tanker has rolled on Fallowfield. This is northbound on the 416, at least the northbound lane, one of them blocked. And with truckers on the way, there could be a very slow go through that portion of the 416. Also, a road closure to local traffic only in the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, closing County Road 19 at County Road 19A to Headline Road to Highway 138. That closure is for the convoy at least until 1:30 this afternoon, but local traffic is being allowed through. It just might be very, very slow. The province is reporting 68 more deaths from COVID-19 along with its daily briefing numbers. The number of people in hospital has gone down by 110 province-wide, but the number of ICU patients has actually increased by 8 to 607 now. Of the 5,337 new cases, 343 are in Ottawa, Eastern Ontario with 107, 57 more in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 42 new cases in Renfrew. City News Time at 10:33. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
On the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
10:34, second half. Rob Snow Show. Talk back hour, Friday free for all. What do you think is going to happen this weekend? Okay. I've been to a lot of protests as a private citizen. Okay. I've spoken at some protests. I've covered a lot of protests as a news reporter because this is Ottawa and it's protest city, man. This is going to be a big one. Big one. Question is, are some of the demonstrators really in it for the truckers? Or are they in it for themselves? And they're just kind of along for the ride, with bad intentions. A lot of people already assume the worst. They do. You know that. They assume the worst, that this is going to turn bloody. And I guess if that happens, the perpetrators will have lived up to the billing, properly cast all along. I would love nothing more than if this convoy proved all the skeptics wrong. Come and honk the horns and hold up traffic and wave the flag, do all of it, and be peaceful and then be gone. But what do you think is going to happen? You think it's going to go sideways? Or anything else? Because that's not the only thing going on in the world. A protest in Ottawa is not the only thing going on in the world. Barry, good morning. Barry, you're on City News.
Good morning, Rob.
Hey, Barry.
I couldn't get on yesterday, Rob, so I'd like to have a few words about Aaron O'Toole and about our Prime Minister.
Yeah, sure, Aaron O'Toole. Well, it's funny because Aaron O'Toole's, what his position was the day before yesterday is not the same position that he had yesterday.
Yeah, I know. And one of the points I was going to make, that if he wants to be a success, I think he's got to learn that he can't please all of the people all of the time. He can just please some of the people. And also that this flip-flopping, you don't change horses in the middle of the stream, to quote an old cowboy saying. He's got to stick to his guns, and I think he possibly could become Prime Minister if he didn't flip-flop so much, and if he stuck to conservative ideals and made sure that he, stays on Trudeau's case, and he seems to be doing a good job when he gets after Trudeau about all his fallacies. But with Trudeau, Rob, I sort of compare him to Vladimir Putin and all his oligarch billionaires in Russia.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
Because he seems to only want to please, his rich friends, and to heck with the little guy. And this is what I think of this truck protest, is he just ignoring it and calling them names and making insinuations about it, because he doesn't really care about the little guys. Like, I mean, look at the way he's let the West go, you know? How many people are going to be in poverty out in the West? You know, look at what he has to say about the economy. Oh, well, he blames it on COVID. He blames everything on COVID. I'd like to remind people, Rob, what did Justin Trudeau do for the first 6 months that COVID was happening? Did he rush to get vaccines in the country? No. He kept going after a Chinese company and trying to get a Chinese company over here to make whatever, whether it was masks or...
there was a like a research partnership. With CanSino. You're right there, Barry. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if it was 6 months. But it was like, you know, and at the time, we shouldn't forget, they were holding the Michaels hostage at the time, right? They were holding Canadians hostage at the time.
I'd like to remind people, though, Rob, comparing them to Vladimir Putin, Justin Trudeau might not be a murderer, but how many people died in the first 4 months or 6 months of COVID because he was wasting time with that Chinese company and not buying vaccines? And that's
I don't know. I don't know if these are even answerable questions, Barry. But I understand your point. I understand your point, specifically about O'Toole. I do. I mean, he danced all around it earlier this week. Man, the media, they were just going after him. Tell us where you stand on the truckers. Are you going to go meet the truckers? He avoided that, answering that at all costs, because he and his team, they decided we don't want to be associated with it in case it goes sideways, which it could go sideways. Do you have the clip here, Alex? Alex, hold on. Alex. Put the caller on hold there, Alex. Just hold on. I know it's hard, man. It's a busy show. Poor Alex is over there. He's in for Dave. He's got to answer the phone and do everything else. So he came out yesterday and said, I support them and I'll meet with them. Here's Erin O'Toole, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada.
The convoy itself is becoming a symbol of the fatigue and the division we're seeing in this country. So tomorrow I will be meeting with truckers to hear their concerns, to talk about the proposals I brought 3 weeks ago to try and make sure we can keep grocery store shelves full, keep people working, and work together. And I would ask Canadians that are...
But I mean, it's totally not what he was saying just a few days before that. It's so typical of him. Man, he twists in the wind. So you have, Mr. Trudeau... His comments have not helped at all. He's not played, any kind of unifier. He's really never been that. And this week, I thought he had kind of a deplorables moment when he talked about people holding unacceptable views. It's so reminiscent, to me, my opinion, it's so reminiscent of the Clinton deplorables, irredeemable comment. And Singh, the Singh family, they can't even agree. Mr. Singh says, it's they're racists and everything else. His brother-in-law, meantime, is making donations to the convoy. So that's the state of federal leadership right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's very inspiring, isn't it? Very inspiring. Chet in Canada South, which is like so much better than Canada North, Canada South.
Yeah, you have to say Canada South.
You got to be south of the Queensway if you're going to be in Canada, right?
It's a bit rural. I gotta say Canada South.
Well, I don't know what the temperature is in Canada North, but I guarantee it's colder in Canada North than it is in Canada South.
Well,
right?
we got minus 19 plus the wind chill, and but it's a beautiful day though. Beautiful day. Yeah, beautiful day. What, Rob?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say a couple things, actually. And I think you and I are aligned on this thing about Bill 21, but all roads point to Bill 21. And let me explain
all
that.
All roads lead to Bill 21. Okay. How do you get there?
You just mentioned, and rightly so, that the comments of the Prime Minister passed were nothing but deplorable, okay? And they were. And then you take Jagmeet Singh's comments about the truckers and whatever being racist and whatnot, okay? So we have that.
Right.
But nobody seems to be saying that, the vile and racist piece of legislation.
Right. Why don't they say that to Legault, in other words? Right?
Legault. So is he a far right? Is he the fringe? Does he represent the fringe? Racism and white supremacy and misogyny have no place in Canada. We're supposed to be a country of diversity and, inclusivity.
Yeah. Diversity, pluralism, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're afraid to call out. Let's face it, this legislation is going to institutionalize racism. And almost on the eve of, when there was the massacre of the Muslim mosque.
Yeah,
so,
mosque, yeah.
And so how dare they insinuate that, there's racism in Canada, there's racism in all cultures. But how dare they cast aspersion on these truckers that are moving across the country as racist, white supremacists, and misogynists? Like, how disingenuous.
Right. And you're saying, and if you're going to do that, why do you give a free ride to Legault on Bill 21?
Yeah.
Right. It's a fair point. Yeah, absolutely.
And this basically, once it's in, that's it. It's institutionalized. But you know what? At the leaders' debate, they were too cowardly to even attack that, and even Aaron O'Toole. You know what? I don't align with Jim Watson too much, but you know what? The words that he mentioned about the peaceful protest coming to Ottawa and same with Pierre Poilievre, that's what leadership is all about. And he went public condemning Bill 21. He went public. He won't support it, the $100,000 about finance. I understand his point of view, but he went public and condemned Bill 21.
All right. Okay. Got to run. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye. Let's take this one. Barrhaven. Jason, Barrhaven.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, buddy.
Yeah, so I just want to talk about the convoy. So, anybody that's been following this, on, either on social media, my brother's actually in the convoy. He's coming from Calgary. So I've been getting, text messages, videos, not social media.
So what's the buzz there?
It's crazy. You're seeing people out on the side of the road, thousands of people all across the country, minus 30, with, big signs of support and love and support our truckers. And then you turn on the news and you see the F Trudeau flags, you know what I mean? And they're talking about, okay, here's an example. So I think it was Wednesday, you had your, Wednesday morning, you had the CAM guy, the NDP
Cam
guy.
Holmstrom. Yeah.
Right, okay. And you almost had him dead to rights because he was because he was saying, this fringe group has already taken over or whatever. And you said, who? Give an example, and he kind of stuttered and said, these groups that you mentioned. Well, you never mentioned any groups, Rob.
Okay.
What groups? Have you heard one name of a single hate group attached to this thing yet? Right? What I'm saying is that it's kind of like what Pierre said yesterday. They've gone through all this social media, millions of social media posts, and they found a couple of, meatheads, and now it's all over the news, right?
Well, plus, I just want to point out, and this is a point I was going to make whether Jason brought this up or not. If you're in the news business, if you're going to rely on a post on social media, like a tweet or a comment on a Facebook page or a posting on a subreddit somewhere, you got to do better than that. Okay? That's not a reliable source. That's not a reliable. You don't even know if that's a source at all. First of all, just let me finish for a second here, Jason.
Yep.
You don't know if that person is who they say they are, right? You don't know their idea. You don't know if they say they're Jason, what's his name, from Barrhaven. You have no idea if that's that person. You have no idea if they're actually part of this convoy. You don't know if they're from Alberta. You don't know if they're in Canada. They might be in a troll farm in Crimea somewhere.
100%.
You have no idea. I mean, it's a well-documented fact. This has been well reported on. This is exactly the kind of stuff that Russian troll farms were doing during the United States presidential election. They would actually set up a Facebook group and say, we're having an anti-racism protest in this city, at this place, at this time. Please come and join us and denounce racism. And then they would set up a counter-protest Facebook page.
Yes. And can I
to meet at the exact same time in the exact same place. Why? To sow division, to divide Americans, to create chaos, right? So, if your news reporting is based on, well, on Twitter it said this, and on Facebook it said this, and on Reddit it said this, sorry, get off the internet and call some real people.
Exactly. And just to that point, like Catherine McKenney came out on Wednesday or Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Said, and she said that this has turned into something else, right? I think that was her comment. Oh, it's not what it was about or whatever, right? And it's been taken over by extremists and racists. And then so the very next day, I think it was yesterday, Thursday, the Ottawa police now say they're expecting violent counter-protesters, right? Like, that's and those are her people. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so she's almost fueling it, I feel. That's my opinion.
Okay.
And,
all right. I got to go, Jason. I got to go. We're right out of time. Okay. Look. I struggle with the whole genesis of this convoy, which was the vaccine mandate for the cross-border truckers, which is a policy, I must say, I thought from the get-go was overkill. I never really saw the need for it. It seemed like a stretch to say that, the truckers are a danger. They've gone from being heroes to dangerous. But then the whole point became moot the moment the White House enacted its own mandate for cross-border truckers. And if it is really about the mandate, then that ship has sailed, unfortunately. So you do have to wonder about the genesis of the whole thing. I'm trying to be fair here, because the fact is, even if the Trudeau government ended this mandate today and Mr. Trudeau came out and did an announcement at Rideau Cottage and said, okay, the mandate's over. The fact is, Canadian truckers who aren't vaccinated, you're still stuck in Canada because you can't go to the United States. Rob Snow Show, City News.
Well, we're celebrating our 43rd year. It's still family operated. We're in our second generation. We, pre-COVID, we're at about 1,000 employees. We have 20 stores from coast to coast in Canada. We do our own manufacturing. Right here in Ottawa, we have about 160 people that support Canadian-made manufacturing in addition to our retail stores. Taking you back to mid-March and the impact of the pandemic on Lee Valley. Lee Valley was actually in a tough spot. We had just launched our website a few months prior to that, and we were going through, a fairly typical deployment dive where your customers retract as they adjust to the website. And then under stress already, this pandemic hit. And in the early days, it was pretty critical. It hit us really hard. Stores were closed. We weren't sure what to do, so we had to go right into survival mode. As a result, we had to take our workforce almost back to half of where we were at because the stores were closed, and with 20 stores, that's a big retail workforce. But what we were able to do pretty quickly, with a little luck, being essential, selling tools and hardware, we were able to adjust our business model, with respect to the stores and our fulfillment operation. That new website that we were under stress worked out well for us because as the world was under house arrest, people were looking to online, and the conversion to our online sales in some cases almost doubled. And we saw tremendous interest in things to do at home. Where we were lucky once again and fortunate is that our product offering. Work at home tools, craft, hobbies, backyard, container gardening, you name it. What we sold was really appealing to people. With respect to our stores, Lee Valley, a rare unknown fact was that we were one of the pioneers of curbside pickup. We've been doing it for 25 years. Pretty much dove right into the application to help with the contactless shopping right away. We took the application, and it's not like a Apple application where you have to download it to your phone and clutter up your phone. This is literally resides right on our website. So you walk into our store with your phone, you pull up our website, and there's a little scan icon. You just tap that, select your store, off you go. You go through the showroom, you scan product, you can read more about it, you can check the on hand, you can add it to your cart, continue to shop, and when you're ready, you just submit it to the counter. We'll go pick it for you. We'll call out your name, we'll check you out, send you on your way. You haven't touched anything. It's completely safe, and it's using a device you're comfortable with and a website that you're familiar with. Amazingly, 9 out of 10 people that used it loved it and want to use it again.
On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
Yeah, we're awaiting the convoy. I was just looking at the weather forecast. You know, it's cold for a protest. It's cold protesting weather, that's for sure. So we reached the high for today at around 4 o'clock this morning when it was like minus 14, minus 15. And this evening, minus 19, feeling like minus 26. Overnight, minus 24, feeling like minus 31. And then tomorrow, you're waking up to almost minus 30 wind chills. Minus 23 at kind of sunrise. And the afternoon high is supposed to be minus 14. And then Sunday morning, minus 20, feels like minus 27, going up to nice balmy high, minus 11. Minus 11 for Sunday afternoon. And the cold continues into Monday. And it won't turn mild until Tuesday. And by Wednesday, get a load of this. Miracles do happen. Alex, guess what happens on Wednesday? It could be +1. Wow. How mild is that going to be? +1. But it's certainly cold protesting weather. Derek, Ottawa, you're on City News. Derek.
Good morning, Rob. First of all, I have to apologize. I called you, I think, on Monday or something. My radio was on the background. My 3-year-old had turned it on, so not my fault, but I apologize. You scolded me.
Yes, I did scold you.
So I just want to tell you why.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so 3-year-old, I'll talk to her for you, okay?
All right, Derek. Okay.
Okay, so as far as this goes, I think the trucker convoy, yeah, it started off as a vaccine mandate, but now it's grown so much because people are sick and tired of lockdowns, masks, social distancing, vaccine passports. It's been 2 years. I mean, Kieran Moore is talking about now we have to learn to live with it. We could have learned to live with it a year and a half ago. I mean, Denmark
I don't know about a year and a half ago. We had no vaccines.
Well, whatever, a long time ago. I mean, Denmark's opened up, Ireland's opened up, the UK's opened up. Yeah. Notice one thing though I've noticed though is Doug Ford is totally silent on all this. He's the mandate king. He's the same as Justin Trudeau, and he hasn't said anything. Have you noticed that?
Well, he hasn't said anything. That's the whole point of the Globe and Mail's editorial today. Is look at the popular premier, most popular premier in the country right now is Francois Legault, who's been the most restrictive. So it's all kind of counterintuitive. In some way, I get Canadians still embrace restrictions.
No,
they favor restrictions, and you, I guess, are in the minority because you don't, right?
Perhaps, but I think, Quebec's if you look at North America, there's 63 subnational governments. In other words, 50 states, 10 provinces, 3 territories. None of them are like Quebec. None of them have curfews. None of them have religious symbol laws. None of them have language police that go around taking pictures. I mean, Quebec's an outlier, so leave them off the table. They're oddballs. But the rest of them, I think people are sick and tired of the lockdowns.
Okay. All right, Derek. Thank you. And all the best to your 3-year-old. But I mean, I've been on one side, up one side, down the other of every restriction that we've had to endure, largely because of incompetence of government. I mean, you have to put these measures under the microscope. Border measures. I had to, kind of have to whip out my papers, to a border guard when I went on my honeymoon last summer. You're handing over papers to like border guards, not to go to a foreign country, but to go to freaking New Brunswick. Yeah. New Brunswick. Holy cow. The drive-through province. Like police asking for papers on bridges, curfews, not once but twice. Mask mandates, vaccine mandates. Now look at what they're proposing, taxes for the unvaccinated, which is not, it's unpopular in Quebec, but it's incredibly popular all across the country, that idea. We've talked about all of this, and you have to put these kind of things under the microscope and give them scrutiny. But I know everyone is tired and worn out and burnt out and stressed out, and I'm right there with you. My thing is, until you start throwing punches and breaking windows and setting things on fire and, spewing hate or even something much worse, and then you've lost me. And that's why I fear it could go sideways, and I don't want it to. Mallorytown, Andrew, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Rob.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi. Yeah, I agree with you on your points. I don't want to see the Capitol get stormed either, like our friends did in the States on January 6th. But like you say, if people, the truckers come in, just flash their signs and honk the horns, is Trudeau not just going to kind of laugh at all that? And I'm not saying violence, but I mean, if what the mayor's saying, you're saying, and some of the councillors are saying, I just don't. I'm not saying I don't want violence, but I mean, I kind of want them to stick around a couple. I don't know,
right.
I don't. I just because people. You've been to protests, like you said.
Covered a lot of protests too.
So,
I mean, I don't know if you remember the Tamil protest. I mean, they shut the city downtown for days, days and days, and blocked traffic. And
what they were looking for, I don't recall the.
No, they did. In the end, I don't know how much it really accomplished and what they thought the Canadian government could do about a civil war in Sri Lanka. But nevertheless, right? It didn't stop them from coming around and staying here for like 3-4 days and shutting down the downtown core. But that's protest. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was, there weren't any fires set, or, some people were inconvenienced.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
$20. And Maggie, Mrs. Calabash, come into my kitchen. A quick mayonnaise, egg yolks, garlic, Dijon mustard, lemon juice, olive oil, immersion blender. Go down, come up. Voila, mayonnaise. Boom, 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 boom. $20. $20.
You know why. Operation Smile, alongside our medical volunteers, provides safe cleft surgery to children free of charge thanks to generous donors like you. That was until we fell into a pandemic. If you only knew what I'm going. By December, tens of thousands more children will be waiting for surgery. Please help us keep our promise and deliver smiles to children in need when surgeries resume.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
This is Rogers TV, Ottawa.
Good morning, everyone. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Thank you for joining us. Merci d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui. We are here today to provide an operational update on the expected arrival of a truck demonstration into the downtown core of Ottawa. Nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour vous fournir une mise à jour opérationnelle sur l'arrivée prévue d'une manifestation de camions dans le centre-ville d'Ottawa. My name is Sebastian Tremblay and I will be your moderator. Je m'appelle Sébastien Tremblay, je serai l'animateur de cette séance. Before we begin, a reminder to place your microphone on mute until I invite you to ask your question. Avant de commencer, j'aimerais vous rappeler de désactiver votre microphone jusqu'à ce que je vous invite à poser votre question. Today, we will be hearing remarks from Ottawa Police Service Chief Peter Slowly, le chef du service de la police d'Ottawa, Peter Slowly, followed by Acting Deputy Chief Trish Ferguson, Community Policing, le chef adjoint par intérim Trish Ferguson, Police Communautaire, and Kim Ayotte, General Manager of Emergency and Protective Services, Directeur Général des Services de Protection et d'Urgence. Available for questions from the media following the statements, we also have, disponible pour répondre aux questions des médias, nous accueillons aussi Bill Landry, Director, Traffic Services, Directeur de la Circulation. After we hear from the panelists, we will take questions from the media. We will now begin with remarks by Chief Peter Slowly.
Merci beaucoup, Sébastien. Good morning. Bonjour à toutes, à tous. Ottawa is built on the unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory. The peoples of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The Ottawa Police Service and the City of Ottawa honors the peoples and land of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. The Ottawa Police Service and the City of Ottawa honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. As you all know, there is a major demonstration taking place over the next several days here in the nation's capital. In fact, demonstrators have already started to arrive, and our officers have been managing a series of small demonstrations in the city core over the last 24 hours. So far, they have been peaceful and uneventful. The main demonstrations will commence tomorrow, will continue through the weekend, and may continue into the following week. We know that there will be demonstrators from across Canada, including Ottawa residents. The heart of Canada's democracy is our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the right to demonstrate and to have our views heard peacefully. That said, all rights and freedoms come with responsibilities and limitations. Public safety is paramount in all such demonstrations and will be in this demonstration. The safety of all the demonstrators, the safety of the city, the community, the residents, the tourists, and the businesses, the safety of the police officers, along with our emergency services and City of Ottawa partners. The members of the Ottawa Police Service are duty-bound to protect the Charter, and as such, the Ottawa Police Service and our partners facilitate hundreds of peaceful, lawful, and safe demonstrations every year, regardless of the cause. The demonstrations this weekend will be unique, fluid, risky, and significant. These demonstrations are national in scope. They're massive in scale. Unfortunately, they are polarizing in nature. And they come almost 2 full years into a highly stressful and tragic global pandemic. There have been many concerns expressed in the community, and many questions have been raised about what we can expect over the next several days. Here is what we do know so far about the core Freedom Convoy demonstration. The organizers have advised us that this will be a peaceful demonstration. They have confirmed that there will be a large number of trucks and participants, and that the main planned demonstrations will take place on Saturday and Sunday this weekend. With demonstrations of this scale, there are significant risks to be mitigated, but that we cannot fully eliminate. For instance, we have a major traffic plan to ensure that emergency lanes are kept open in the downtown core. But with hundreds of trucks demonstrating in the downtown core for days, we know that there will be major traffic safety issues. There are unique variables associated with this demonstration, some that we can influence, and some that will be beyond our ability to fully control. For instance, we have been in constant communication with the core Freedom Convoy organizers. Still, there are other parallel demonstrators who we have not been able to engage fully with. There are also social media actors locally, nationally, and internationally. Actors who may or may not actually come to the city to participate in the demonstrations, but who are nonetheless inciting hate, violence, and in some cases criminality to take place in our city. We still do not have a confirmed number of trucks and demonstrators. We do not have an established end date for the demonstrations. They could go through the weekend and into next week. We do not know all of the parallel demonstrations that may occur and or the lone wolf individuals who may insert themselves into the mix for various reasons. We do not know the full impact that a demonstration of this size, scale, and potential duration will have on public safety or on public health outcomes while we're in the latest phase of the COVID pandemic. Based on what we do know so far, I can tell you that we have significantly increased the level of local, provincial, and national communication and coordination commensurate to the evolving nature of the demonstration. This includes bringing in significantly more police, national security, emergency services, and city resources. Starting today and increasing over the weekend, Ottawa residents and visitors can expect to see a large police and emergency services presence in the downtown core and on major highways and roads in and around the city. As the demonstrators arrive in larger numbers today, major traffic delays and congestion will occur. Over the course of the weekend, there will be gridlock in the core, and it will impact road usage citywide. We will do everything possible to maintain emergency routes in the core, but we ask everyone not to visit or travel in the downtown core if you do not need to. For those of you living or working in the downtown core, we understand your concerns, and we are working to lessen the impacts on your lives, but there will be significant impacts. So please plan accordingly. Try to do any shopping or errands today. Anticipate that there will be little ability for home delivery services in the core. There may in fact be very limited vehicle, bicycle, or even pedestrian access to the core for safety reasons, given that some areas may be very close to demonstration sites and pose public safety risks. The Ottawa Police Service has resources available to provide police services for the rest of the city during the duration of the demonstration period. That said, we ask that you use your 911 communication services appropriately, that you do not make unnecessary police service and emergency service demands during this period, that there may be delays and in fact gaps in our services depending on the impacts of the demonstrations. Over the past week, we have been meeting with our partners to develop an operational plan to ensure that we have the most current information and intelligence from all available sources. This information and intelligence informs the spectrum of risks, threats, and variables that we have to plan for. We then make our plan and constantly update those operational plans to secure the most available and appropriate resources in our best attempt to mitigate, if not eliminate, those threats, risks, and variables. In an event such as this, with its ever-evolving, fluid, and dynamic nature, there will never be a perfect plan. And we do not have unlimited resources. As you will soon hear, we have a variety of well-developed and well-resourced plans to try to adequately and effectively address those known threats, risks, and variables. We have plans for traffic disruption and parking problems. We have plans for more serious issues like damage to property, criminal acts, or other violent behaviors. This includes the ability to gather evidence along the traveled routes of the demonstration, at the demonstration sites, and online in social media. Let me be very clear. We are prepared to investigate, arrest if necessary, charge and prosecute anyone who acts violently or breaks the law in the demonstrations or in association with the demonstrations. We have the capability and the commitment to pursue investigations and prosecutions well after the demonstrations have ended. This event has drawn a lot of attention from mainstream media, elected officials, and social media. It has the international community's attention as well. This is an important issue for all Canadians, no matter where people live or where they personally sit on the spectrum of views in regards to the issues being demonstrated about. That said, it is irresponsible to inflame this already volatile situation, and in some cases, it may be illegal to express hate or incite criminality and violence in association to the demonstrations. We have seen in other jurisdictions where such inflammatory behaviors have led to people getting injured, killed, and/or incarcerated. We are doing everything we can to ensure that does not happen here. We are monitoring all intelligence and coordinating with federal, provincial, and local partners to ensure that we are identifying those who could pose a threat to the city over the coming days. We have evidentiary teams that will be videotaping all aspects of the demonstration. We'll be gathering evidence should there be any acts of violence or unlawful behavior. We have intelligence assets and investigators who will be working throughout the entire event in the days and weeks and months following the demonstration, should there be any violence or acts of criminality associated with the demonstration. We have consulted with the Crown Attorney's Office, and we are prepared both legally and operationally to address any risks associated with the demonstration while we continue to facilitate people's right to protest under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We have also developed a plan to facilitate the orderly and peaceful departure of the truck convoy from Ottawa at the end of the demonstration. We ask that everyone who attends the demonstrations to be respectful of each other and to the area residents and businesses, to be respectful to the Ottawa Police Service officers and members, along with our police, national security, emergency services, and City of Ottawa partners. The Ottawa Police Service and our partners will do our very best to keep all people healthy and safe. That said, we have a collective responsibility to keep the community healthy and safe. We have to work together to enable everyone, demonstrators, visitors, residents, to get home safely to their families and their loved ones. We will do everything within our means to enable a peaceful, safe, and healthy demonstration. This includes the timely departure of all the demonstrators from the city. I will now hand it over to Acting Deputy Chief Trish Ferguson, who leads the Ottawa Police Service response to the upcoming demonstrations this weekend. Deputy Ferguson will provide a more in-depth briefing on the planning and operational framework for the demonstrations. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here today. This briefing will provide you with the most up-to-date information on the preparation for this weekend's demonstrations in Ottawa. I realize there's a great deal of interest in this event from our community and, in fact, across the country. The Ottawa Police Service is the lead agency and has overall command of this event. Over the last few days, our team has been finalizing operational plans in anticipation of the demonstrations. Ce briefage vous fournira les renseignements les plus récents sur les préparatifs en vue des manifestations de cette fin de semaine à Ottawa. Je comprends que la collectivité s'intéresse vivement à ces événements, même à travers le pays. Le service de police d'Ottawa est l'organisme principal et assume le commandement de cette situation. Au fil des derniers jours, notre équipe a terminé la mise au point des plans opérationnels en prévision des manifestations. Planning has involved coordination with our policing and intelligence partners at all levels of government, and the Ottawa Police would like to thank them for their ongoing cooperation. Information gathered continues to indicate this will be a large and significant event that is expected to last throughout the weekend. We anticipate demonstrators will arrive from several different directions in large numbers with many heavy vehicles and trucks. Over the last few days, we have received feedback and questions from members of our community. And today I will provide information relating to the most common and pressing issues for our residents so that everyone understands and is aware of our approach. We remain in regular contact with the many convoy organizers to understand their plan and to ensure that they have information relative to safe driving routes and appropriate locations to park in the city. We want to ensure demonstrators can arrive and leave as efficiently and safely as possible. The truck convoy will be directed to these specific areas as they arrive in Ottawa. City staff have been making sure appropriate signage is clearly visible, including no stopping or prohibited parking zones. We have identified and will maintain open lanes of traffic for our first responders in emergencies throughout the course of the demonstrations and the weekend. Nous demeurons en communication avec les multiples organisateurs du convoi afin de comprendre leurs plans et faire en sorte qu'ils disposent de toute l'information pertinente quant aux voies de conduite sécuritaires et aux endroits appropriés pour se stationner en ville. Nous tenons à veiller à ce que les manifestants puissent arriver et repartir le plus efficacement et le plus sécuritairement possible. Le convoi de camions sera dirigé vers ces endroits particuliers au fur et à mesure de leur arrivée à Ottawa. Le personnel municipal a veillé à ce que la signalisation pertinente soit bien visible, notamment celle indiquant les zones de stationnement et d'arrêt interdits. Nous avons identifié et garderons des voies de circulation ouvertes à l'intention de nos premiers intervenants en cas d'urgence tout au long des manifestations. This work has been coordinated with our city partners, and I would extend our thanks to our City of Ottawa colleagues for their ongoing support and tireless efforts. Our officers are here to protect the rights of individuals to demonstrate peacefully and in accordance with the law. We are also entrusted to intervene when violence and laws are broken and to restore peace. Our focus will be to preserve the safety of everyone involved. This includes Ottawa residents, demonstrators, and our police members. Residents, visitors, and demonstrators will see a very large police presence over the weekend. We will have officers on foot, in plain clothes, and using a variety of methods to conduct evidence gathering and observations of crowd. Demonstrators and residents can expect to see our members in different uniforms, with a variety of equipment on their person and in different vehicles. Nos agents sont là pour protéger le droit individuel de manifester pacifiquement et dans le respect de la loi. Nous sommes aussi chargés d'intervenir et de rétablir la paix si la violence éclate et que les lois sont enfreintes. Nous allons miser sur le maintien de la sûreté de chacun, ce qui comprend les résidents d'Ottawa, manifestants et membres de la police. Au cours de la fin de semaine, les résidents, les visiteurs et les manifestants constateront une forte présence policière. Nous aurons des agents à pied, en civil et ayant recours à une gamme de méthodes pour recueillir les éléments de preuve et observer les foules. Les manifestants et résidents peuvent s'attendre à voir nos membres vêtus en divers uniformes, munis d'un éventail de matériel et à bord de différents véhicules. We have reassigned and deployed Ottawa police officers, and we have called for assistance from other police agencies to ensure we have appropriate resources to manage any eventuality. We have already consulted with Crown Attorney to ensure they are aware of our plans and approach. While representatives from the convoy have been cooperative thus far and have informed us that their intentions are to hold a peaceful and lawful demonstrations, we are aware of other groups and individuals who are likely to attend and are not associated with the main demonstration, and groups who do not share the same peaceful goals. I would like to state that public safety is paramount. There will be consequences for any person engaging in or inciting criminal or violent behavior. We are prepared to deal with any such incidents, including making arrests and laying charges as appropriate. To our fellow citizens of Ottawa, we appreciate that area businesses and residents are concerned, particularly about information that they're seeing online. We want to assure them that we are taking every action possible to mitigate the impacts of this event on daily life in the city. But even with those efforts, this will have a significant impact on disrupt traffic to bring attention to their cause. But it is simple. If you do not need to be downtown this weekend, avoid the area. For those of you who live downtown, expect delays and major traffic disruptions. Make adjustments to your schedule, whether it be for groceries, shopping, work, appointments, or deliveries. It will be more difficult to move around, especially by vehicle. We will work to keep you updated, and we ask that you rely on trusted sources like our Twitter feed at Ottawa Police, as well as the City of Ottawa's feed at Ottawa_traffic. Chers citoyens d'Ottawa, nous sommes conscients de l'inquiétude que ressentent les commerçants et les résidents, particulièrement à la lumière de l'information qu'ils rencontrent en ligne. Nous tenons à leur assurer que nous prenons toutes les mesures possibles pour atténuer les répercussions de ces événements sur le quotidien de la ville. Malgré ces efforts, la circulation sera sérieusement affectée. L'objectif déclaré des manifestants est de perturber la circulation pour attirer l'attention vers leur cause. C'est tout simple. S'il n'est pas nécessaire de vous être au centre-ville en fin de semaine, évitez le secteur. Quant à ceux d'entre vous qui habitent au centre-ville, attendez-vous à des retards et à des considérables perturbations de la circulation. Ajustez votre horaire en conséquence, qu'il s'agisse de faire l'épicerie, de magasiner, d'aller au travail, à un rendez-vous ou effectuer les livraisons. Il sera plus difficile de se déplacer, surtout pour les véhicules. Nous tâcherons de vous tenir au fait des événements. Nous vous prions de vous renseigner d'auprès de sources fiables, notamment notre fil Twitter @Ottawa Police et le fil circulation de la ville d'Ottawa @Ottawa_circule. Finally, I'd like to call on everyone involved in this weekend's events to be respectful of one another and the businesses and people that live here. This pandemic has been hard on all Canadians. It is important that we show compassion for one another while exercising our rights. That includes the local community, the demonstrators, and police officers who are working to keep everyone safe. As the police service for the National Capital, our officers have kept the peace at hundreds of demonstrations every year. These veteran officers know how to ensure that everyone who attends goes home safely. I want to thank all the officers who will be engaged this weekend. This will be hard work in cold weather, and their professionalism and dedication to this city and its citizens is remarkable. Au sein de service de la police de la capitale nationale, nos agents ont assuré le maintien de la paix lors des centaines de manifestations par année. Ces agents chevronnés savent comment veiller à ce que tous les gens de présence rentrent chez eux en sécurité. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Deputy Chief Ferguson. We will now hear from Kim Ayotte.
Thank you, Chief Slowly. Deputy Ferguson, good morning, everyone. Bon matin, tout le monde. As we all know, the demonstration involving a large convoy of trucks is coming to Ottawa and will cause significant traffic and transit delays and disruptions this weekend. If possible, residents should avoid unnecessary travel through or into the downtown core throughout the weekend. Dans la mesure du possible, les résidents doivent éviter les placements non essentiels au centre-ville tout au long de la fin de semaine. There is a possibility that disruptions may extend beyond Sunday. There's a lot we don't know about this weekend and how it will unfold. But the one thing I do know is that the city's emergency plans are designed to be flexible and adapt to different situations. While Ottawa Police is the lead agency in the preparations of this protest, the city has fully mobilized its dedicated emergency operations center structure to provide support and coordinate communications. The city's traffic incident management group, which combines the expertise of city police services and in Ottawa and Gatineau, have been preparing for different scenarios. The city is working with Ottawa Police in developing a traffic and parking management plans, and updates will be provided throughout the weekend on our regular channels. La Ville travaille avec la police d'Ottawa pour élaborer les plans de gestion de la circulation et du stationnement. Et des mises en jour seront fournies tout au long de la fin de semaine. I want to assure Ottawa residents that emergency services throughout the city will be deployed and focused on ensuring that the safety of the public is maintained and that dedicated lanes are kept clear for emergency vehicles. If you at any time feel your safety is threatened, or if you need medical emergency, call 911. In the meantime, the city is working with Ottawa Police to keep the public informed on citywide traffic and transit. I encourage residents to follow the City of Ottawa on Facebook and Twitter and stay up to date on service changes that could affect you. The City of Ottawa will also provide updates and maps on ottawa.ca. La Ville d'Ottawa fournira également des mises à jour et des cartes sur ottawa.ca. For traffic updates, follow the City of Ottawa at Ottawa_traffic or use the traffic monitoring app to check for traffic congestion before you travel. OC Transpo buses and Paratranspo will also experience some delays, and detours may be required. To stay up to date on transit impacts, follow OC Transpo Twitter account at octranspo.com or call 613-560-5000. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Ayotte. I will now invite questions from each agency alphabetically. You may ask one question with a follow-up. Nous allons maintenant répondre aux questions de chaque organisme par ordre alphabétique. Vous pouvez poser une question et une question de suivi. Again, a reminder to all participants to keep their cameras off unless they are speaking or asking questions. Un rappel à tous les participants de fermer l'option vidéo. We'll now start with, nous allons commencer avec Yannick Saint-Denis, 104.5 FM. Yannick, êtes-vous là? Non, on va aller à Geneviève Normand avec Agence France Presse.
Oui, bonjour, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, on t'entend, tu peux commencer.
Oui, en fait, je voulais savoir si la police d'Ottawa, si vous faites affaire avec les partenaires américains pour gérer la sécurité cette fin de semaine.
Merci Geneviève pour la question. Notre façon de faire notre intelligence, c'est avec nos partenaires internationaux en tant qu'aussi les Canadiens. Le fait que c'est une manifestation qui commence et puis principalement au Canada, nous avions certainement plus de contacts avec nos partenaires ici, mais ça fait toujours partie de notre process et de regarder au côté américain et international.
Très bien. Et je sais que vous avez dit que c'est difficile d'avoir un nombre précis sur le nombre de manifestants que vous attendez, mais peut-être pour nous indiquer, vous avez parlé que vous avez dit que ce serait large in scope. Est-ce que vous avez une estimation à nous fournir? J'ai vu circuler le chiffre 10 000 manifestants. Est-ce que ça tient toujours, ça? Est-ce qu'on parle de cet ordre de grandeur?
C'est toujours quelque chose que nous cherchons de savoir l'information le plus récent et le plus en détail. Mais non, nous n'avons pas le numéro de 10 000 maintenant. Ce n'est pas quelque chose que... ça n'achète pas les mêmes numéros que nous avions tout de suite, mais je ne pourrais pas vous dire. On sait que c'est plusieurs centaines.
Merci Geneviève. We will now go to Liber Thiaume with the Canadian Press.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to just follow up on some comments from Chief Stoley. You said that you have identified some other groups and perhaps individuals and whatnot who are mixed in amongst the core organizers. Can you name or identify any specific hate groups, extremist groups, anything like that, who have been identified as being or who you fear are going to be present?
Thank you very much for your question. I'm not at this point able to name any specific groups. I can assure you in the public that we have full cooperation from our national security agencies, including CSIS, RCMP, and their international partners, and their assistance in conducting a threat assessment from the beginning of this core demonstration all the way through to the end of whatever combination of demonstrations happen within the nation's capital here. We have national, provincial, and local intelligence working on this on a 24/7 basis. And even during the course of this conference call, we've had new intelligence coming in regards to local threats. That will continue, and we will be as prepared as possible to identify those individuals or groups that may seek to come here physically to cause harm to the city, to disrupt lawful demonstrations, or that may be inciting hate and or criminal violence online.
Do you have a follow-up, Lee? Are you there? All right.
Sorry about that. I thought I pushed it. I'd also like to know more about what you plan to do if the protesters remain throughout the weekend and into next week. Do you plan to let them park on the streets for days? What do you plan to do about that?
Thank you very much for the question again. That's a very fluid part of the entire operation. We have not yet received clarity from the core demonstration convoy as to what their end date and end exit strategy will be, but we are in daily and constant communication with those core organizers to make sure that there's a full understanding of what would be reasonable in terms of an egress from the entire state of affairs. We will certainly be extremely concerned should there still be a large set of demonstrations happening in the city of Ottawa, in the downtown core, as we resume a normal work week on Monday. There is increased traffic flow, pedestrian flow. There are a number of critical infrastructure operations that need to happen, from mass transportation, public education, public health. Access to the roads will become even more important than they are on the weekends. And so all those and other factors will be at play in terms of our negotiations and communication and coordination with any demonstrators who remain in the city past the weekend. Based on the risk assessments, we will take an appropriate course of action. We are prepared and capable to remove vehicles. We are prepared and capable to provide bylaw enforcement, highway traffic act enforcement, and criminal enforcement should it be necessary. But so far, we've had good cooperation and communication and coordination with the core organizers of the main truck demonstration, and we'll do our best to continue that throughout the entire process, as well with any other parallel demonstrators. But as I said earlier on, public safety is paramount. The safety of the demonstrators, the safety of the city, the safety of our businesses, our residents, our officers, emergency service providers, that will be at the top of the level, top of mind for every decision we make around the nature of the demonstration, our response to it, and the requirement for people to end.
Thank you, sir. We will now go to Joe Tunney with CBC Ottawa.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, great. And just before I ask, I just want to make sure I get an answer in both French and English. Yeah, my question is, during Canada 150, dump trucks and snowplows were deployed at intersections in the parliamentary precinct to block access by vehicles to the Hill. So I'm curious, why wasn't that done this time?
Thank you very much for the question. I'm going to actually ask Acting Deputy Chief Trish Ferguson to provide the answer.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Joe. So there are a number of options that we have in order to maintain safety and access to routes. In this case, all of those options were weighed, and we have determined that we would like to keep one lane open and along all of our major routes. We will not be shutting down any major arteries, and if we do, we will be sharing that with the public. But our option on this one is to keep our routes open so that we are able to get emergency vehicles in and around the downtown core as necessary. So en français, nous avions regardé au contingent qu'on avait à notre disposition pour ces ces mesures de fermer les routes. Et nous avions dédié pour ce temps-ci que l'option serait plus agréable d'avoir une voie ouverte pour nos véhicules d'urgence pour passer dans la ville propre.
And for my follow-up, and again, I'll get a response in French and English, but I'm curious, do the protesters have a demonstration permit?
To my knowledge, they do not at this point. À ce que je sache, ils n'ont pas un permis pour faire leur manifestation.
All right, thank you, Jason. We will now go to Jason White with City News Ottawa. Jason?
Hi there. So my first question, if I could get the deputy chief to expand on a point I believe you were making about truckers being directed to specific routes or to specific areas. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Specifically, where are you directing the truckers, and are there any specific areas do you not want them to go? For example, onto the grounds of Parliament Hill, or are there other areas where you'd like the truckers and the demonstrators to stay away from?
Thank you, Jason. For the first part of your question, we have obviously got people coming in from east, west, and south, as well as north into the city proper. Our traffic officers are managing that, and our police liaison teams have been in communication with convoy team captains as they are approaching the city to let them know what the best route for them to come in is. We will be routing some trucks in from the western route. And the routes that we have got selected so far involve Pinecrest exit, we have the Kent exit, we have to the east core, or east of the core, we have the Sir George Etienne Parkway, and we will be obviously monitoring traffic coming over from the Quebec side as well. So we will be ensuring that we are getting trucks in as efficiently and safely. Obviously, for some of the bigger vehicles, we want to keep them out of blocking intersections downtown. So we want to make sure that they're aware of what the best way, safest way to make an ingress into the city is. I'm sorry, the second part of your question?
Yeah, the second part of my question, are there areas where you don't want them to go or you're asking them to stay away from, like the grounds of Parliament Hill? Right,
thank you. The parliamentary precinct is looked after by the PPS, and so Parliamentary Protective Services. We are working in conjunction with them. To my understanding thus far, people are able to find themselves on the grounds of Parliament, and we will work with them to make sure that that is safe and that any issues that arise there we will be supporting, but PPS will be the decision maker in those ones.
Thank you. My follow-up question is about washroom access downtown, and this is for whoever feels best suited to respond. The mayor raised the possibility on our station yesterday that he was not aware of organizers arranging for portable washrooms, whereas usually that happens in these large sorts of demonstrations. So has the city arranged for porta potties to be set up downtown anywhere? Have the organizers indicated they're bringing them, or what is the status around that aspect?
I'm not sure if Mr. Ayotte has an answer to that question. We have been in conversation with, as I said, convoy captains and apprising them of any of the facilities that would be potentially available. My understanding is that porta potties were a consideration in and around Parliament. I'm not sure what the City of Ottawa has been involved with at this point.
Yeah, we're currently assessing the need and quantity, et cetera. We also have information that suggests that the organizers are organized in that they have ordered porta potties. So now we're competing with them with regards to access. But we are looking into that, and we'll hopefully have something ready based on the number of people who are showing up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. We will now go to Xiao Li with City News National.
Hi, can everyone hear me all right?
We can.
Thank you. So my first question is, of course, as the chief mentioned, there are certainly going to be people in the convoy who are seeking to peacefully protest, as well as other people who may be coming downtown just to rubberneck despite advice not to. In the event that Ottawa police needs to clear the area or ask people to peacefully disperse, what sort of signals will be given to the people who are present so they're going to be able to, disperse peacefully?
Thanks for the question, Charlie. We will, as we normally do, we have equipment, loud hailers, any types of voice magnifiers if we need that. Our officers will be in the crowd and will be engaging with the crowd. And if it comes to a situation where we are needing to evacuate a certain area or disperse the crowd, we will do so first by, obviously giving people warnings and making the requests verbally through a variety of means in order to achieve that.
Thanks very much for that answer. And as a follow-up, certainly January 6th in DC has been looming over lots of people's thinking ahead of this convoy's arrival. I just wanted to ask if anyone was prepared to speak a bit candidly about how present that risk is in the thinking for Ottawa Police in planning for this.
Thank you very much. I'll take that question. I recognize that's been sewn into the narrative of this overall situation. While we are informed by events that happen around the world, and certainly to our neighbors south of the border, this is Canada and this is the nation's capital of Ottawa. We have great faith and confidence in Canadians from coast to coast. And in this case, we have Canadians from coast to coast participating in the convoy and likely coming on their own to some degree to participate as individuals in and around the demonstrations. We have every confidence in the world that the vast majority of people who are choosing to come to the city or who live in the city and choose to participate in some form or the other within the demonstrations will do so as Canadians do, lawfully, peacefully, and with respect to everybody, that they will enact their Charter of Rights, but also enact the responsibilities that come with such freedoms. And they will work with the police, with the City of Ottawa, with the emergency service providers, with the residents and the businesses to make sure that their voices can be heard, their opinions can be shared, their frustrations can be aired, and they'll go home safely to their families. For those that choose to do otherwise, they can be assured that there will be a commensurate response to any acts of violence or criminality, any expressions of hate and intolerance, and any acts of disrespect. We're prepared as best as we possibly can be for those that choose to come here to do harm, to cause others to do harm. But this is Canada, and we truly believe the vast majority of people involved in any aspect of this will do so peacefully and lawfully.
Thanks very much for that.
Thank you, sir. We will now go to Josh Pringle with CTV Ottawa. Josh?
Thank you very much. My question is for Chief Slowly. We received several emails from businesses concerned about safety of their staff, customers, property leading up to this weekend. Do you recommend that businesses in the Byward Market, Centertown area close their doors this weekend because of the protest?
Thank you very much. An important discussion that's been taking place over the last several days. I can tell you over the last 72 hours, our neighborhood resource teams, particularly the market team that has been operating down in the Byward Market and in the main commercial and retail area of the downtown core, have been actively meeting with and speaking with and planning with, sharing information with the businesses, the residents, the business improvement associations, the local councillor. In fact, those meetings took place as late as this morning, just prior to this meeting. We're sharing with them as much information as we can so they can make the most informed decisions possible. Ultimately, any private citizen and any private business has to make their own decisions as to whether or not to open their business, to have staff and employees present, and to provide services, goods or services to the community. Our responsibility is to give them the most up-to-date information possible for them to make those decisions. We will make sure that we are very aware of the potential threats and risks that could occur in and around their residences, their private residences, and their private businesses. And we'll do everything we can to keep those people and their property as safe as possible.
So no recommendation, just you'll provide them the information and try to keep them as safe as possible?
That's a decision that every private individual and private business owner has to make on their own. Our responsibility is to provide them with the most accurate, up-to-date information, as well as the services commensurate to the risks that we can mitigate.
All right. Thank you, Josh. We will now go to David Aiken with Global National News. David?
Hi, thanks very much, everybody. This has been a very excellent briefing. Chief, I wonder if I could come back to just, you mentioned not really sure on the numbers, and I guess that's one of the things that's making everybody a bit anxious. Kingston Police Services, as you may be aware, on their Twitter account, did release a bit of an accounting about the number of tractors, tractor trailers, personal vehicles. Thunder Bay OPP, I spoke to them yesterday, and they were able to provide an accounting of the group that came out of Western Canada. So by my count, we got about 230 tractors and or tractor trailers and about 725 cars. That's just the convoy from Western Canada and the one coming out of Toronto, Kingston. Do you have some, surely you've got some information from Quebec Police about what's coming from Montreal, maybe from RCMP about what came out of the Maritimes? Do you have, first of all, do those numbers sound roughly accurate, what I just gave you? And what can you add from what's coming from the East, so far as we're aware from other police services?
David, thank you for your question. I'll start. If Deputy Ferguson has top up, I'll invite her to complete the answer. What you've described is accurate. The jurisdictions where the convoy has passed through have been able to provide, as of that moment, that day, that hour, the count of vehicles and demonstrators that they're able to ascertain. I think we also know that as this has traveled from the West Coast through the prairies, now through Ontario, that the numbers change. The numbers swell while in province and they shrink while they cross the provincial border. They swell as they go through cities, particularly large regions, and they drop off. So there's a steady state and then what I would call an accordion effect as they move through different jurisdictions. So until they arrive here, we won't get an accurate count. That's the bottom line. We can have estimations, but we won't have an accurate count until they actually arrive in this jurisdiction. You are accurate. We do have our Quebec provincial partners, as well as our police and provincial partners in the Maritimes, providing us with numbers of persons and vehicles who are leaving their jurisdiction and traveling towards Ottawa. We expect that we're going to have people arriving from the south, the east, the west, and the north, and those numbers will grow as we go through the next 24 hours to 48 hours. The numbers you just gave me are reasonably accurate with the briefings that we have received overnight through this morning in terms of what's coming through the main corridor up the 401 from Windsor through the GTA into Eastern Ontario. With that, I'll invite Deputy Ferguson to top up any information with anything more current that she has.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, David, for the question. I think that's a fairly accurate representation of what we've been apprised of. We are in touch with our partners in the Ontario Provincial Police and getting updates from them. We have heard that there could be from 1 to 200 vehicles coming from New Brunswick, and what size and shape of vehicles we are not aware of, whether that is all tractor trailers or a combination of personal vehicles and trucks. And we are also aware that there may be a large volume of people moving across from the Quebec side over in our Gatineau neighbors, so anywhere from 2,000 people, but we have heard that these will be on foot and we're expecting pedestrians. So we are looking at any number of a combination of people arriving on foot and in vehicles into the city.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen lots of demonstrations on the Hill with 10,000, 20,000 people. I guess it's the trucks that makes the thing a bit different. Chief, one more question that you've mentioned several times. You talk about the core organizers, and I wonder if you can speak a little bit more about who they are, where they're coming from, how many. We're trying to figure them out too. I mentioned convoys coming from the west, from Toronto, elsewhere. Does each one have an organizer? Can you tell us who these are and how many there are, the core organizers, and where they're from?
David, thank you. I'll turn that question over to Deputy Chief Ferguson. As she's preparing to answer, though, I will just say, and I appreciate the focus has remained on the trucks and the convoys. And again, I want to be clear, to the greatest extent, we have received good communication and cooperation from those core organizers. But as I talked about in my opening comments, and as Deputy Ferguson has referred to, the risk factors extend beyond the core demonstrators to those that have already indicated online and in other forums that they're prepared to engage directly or indirectly with the events that will transpire over the next several days here. And some of them have been very clear in inciting hate, encouraging acts of violence and criminality. So we have a good plan, well-resourced, focused on the core element of a large vehicle convoy entering into the downtown core of the nation's capital and all of the risks that come with that. But we have the asymmetric threats that are attributed to individuals and groups that are also parallel to this demonstration, engaging in online activities and stating that they will engage in in-person activities within the city. So it is a very complex, fast-moving, and still very fluid situation that we are managing to this point. I will invite Deputy Ferguson to top up on your question.
Thank you, sir. We have seen the numbers grow and shrink, but we are currently 8 separate convoy captains who we are in communication with.
Thank you very much, everyone. Just going to check on a few outlets. Do we have someone on from CTV National News, Kevin Gallagher or someone else? Doesn't sound like it. And do we have someone from CBC National News? Okay, then we will move on next to Lila Dussault avec La Presse.
Oui, bonjour, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui.
Parfait. Première question, savez-vous où on en est en termes de temps? Vers quelle heure les premiers convois sont-ils attendus à Ottawa? De quelle direction pensez-vous qu'ils vont arriver en premier, etc.?
Merci, Lila. Nous savons, le chef a déjà mentionné que nous avions déjà vu un groupe de personnes quelques groupes qui sont déjà arrivés à notre ville. La manifestation principale est due à commencer demain, alors samedi à midi, mais nous attendons que nous allons avoir les groupes qui arrivent pendant la journée aujourd'hui, mais nous ne sommes pas au courant s'ils vont rester en ville ou s'ils vont se présenter et retirer pour revenir demain.
Excellent. Donc, ça m'amène à ma deuxième question. Énormément de personnes se préparent à arriver à Ottawa alors qu'il y a des avertissements de froid extrême. Est-ce que vous avez des informations à savoir comme où les gens prévoient rester cette nuit? Est-ce qu'il y a assez d'hébergement pour tout le monde et craignez-vous qu'il y ait des risques pour la sécurité des personnes en termes d'engelure ou de froid?
C'est une excellente question, Lila. Ça va être la responsabilité des manifestants eux-mêmes, mais en tant que sécurité, et puis c'est notre priorité pour tout le monde. Alors, nous allons être au courant et faire notre possible pour travailler avec nos partenaires s'il y a du monde qui cherche de l'hébergement ou qui sont en panne.
Merci, Lila.
Merci beaucoup.
Oui, merci. On va maintenant à Marie Vassel avec Le Devoir.